Hey there, I'm Sam.
And I'm Jyotsna.
And this is Happenstance 420 Stoner Movie Special.
Happenstance. Now, you may be wondering, is it season 3?
Weren't you girls, didn't you say you'd be back in March? We did say that.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's not season 3.
No.
It's a special episode that we made at your behest. And here we are trying our best, which is going to be a big theme today, I think.
Yeah.
To give that to you.
Yeah, it's going to be a uphill, like a Sisyphusian battle.
I'm all about that's a Greek myth, yeah?
Yeah, that's the one where he rolls the boulder up a hill.
Okay. I knew which one, but lately I say everything is like, that's like a Greek myth.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm unsure if it's just a general myth or actually a Greek one. So good to get some clarity on that.
Just like a salad.
You're unsure if it's a Greek salad or a regular salad? Who made the regular
There's
salad?
like overlap,
Cobb.
right?
Is it Cobb? You know what's the most unregular salad, aka the worst salad?
Mm-hmm.
Wedge.
Where
you have to chop it all up yourself.
You know the Jello salads?
I've never even seen one of those.
Fuck those.
That's from like my people's last generation. Like I've never seen those.
Your people's last, yeah.
Yeah.
I learned about it in like cultural anthropology of white people class.
That makes sense. That sounds like some class they teach at NYU. At freaking NYU. Here we are, already getting off the rails on 420 Easter.
Yes.
I started the day
praying.
Of course. We're here today on Easter 420, a day where I think, opposing forces are aligned.
In celebration.
You can say stuff like, Jesus smoked weed. What do you think the burning bush was about?
Well, also, guys who smoke weed look the same as Jesus, often. It's like Big Lebowski core.
It's a Big Lebowski core day. I should be wearing my robe with Santa Clauses on it. We're joined today on youtube.com with my cat cactus Squishmallow, a recent acquisition that I bought for medical purposes.
Yeah.
So I could sleep upright when suffering from heartburn.
So a nurse.
A nurse
who we find out today is a degenerate.
Yeah. She's looking crazy on the pod today. Look at our video. Just see what we mean.
Yeah.
You won't be able to look away. We honestly we're blending into the background.
We might as well not even be in this.
Yeah, that's not what it's about today. I think I'm trying to find the level of serenity that the cat cactus has here on Easter 420.
Right.
By moving on, actually.
Moving on from
this week, as I've gotten a stoner movie education about what smoking weed is really about.
Yes. From generations past.
I've decided that today is my last time partaking
in marijuana. Wow, that is very Easter.
Thank you.
Rebirth, new beginning.
Yeah, but I think you were supposed to give up stuff 40 days ago for Lent.
It's okay. The podcast is 40 days late.
It's 420 Easter. It's okay.
Yeah,
that's what we gave up podcasting for Lent, so we could come back today
on Easter.
How Jesus would.
Yes,
a guy who smoked weed.
Allegedly.
That's our sermon to kick things off.
Wow, last day ever smoking weed.
I think so, and I'm sharing it here with you today on the pod, ostensibly, because we're in California and it is legal, yes, but also this entire podcast has always been and always will be satire, so
yeah,
nothing we say can be held against us in a court of law.
Yeah, look up like irony laws or something.
Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
They should be called that.
They should be called
That's
irony
freaking
laws.
cool.
Irony is legal.
And actually, we do need irony. Okay, let's get into freaking weed culture. We need irony laws, not just about like satire's protected, but also like what's ironic and what's cringe and what's like post-ironic. Like I think we need more literature on these things.
Do you think that stoner movies are like cringe?
Growing up, and I think it's interesting because I think it's the work of like the war on drugs and stoner culture. But I always felt like I didn't want to get into weed as like a teen because I was like, it's cringe.
Interesting.
Being like, take me to your dealer and like having tie-dye wall poster.
The socks.
And, like, The socks, the vibe, everyone.
Yeah.
It was because I think it was like persecuted. People were going really hard in like the other direction and being like, this is counterculture.
Right.
And then it was like, I don't know if it really is.
It's when counterculture tries hard, it's not cool.
And when counterculture, I think by the time we got it, like presented to us around weed, it was actually commercialized because it was right before this wave of like legalization and acceptance. So you could go buy stuff from like, what's that store? Spencer's in the mall.
Yeah. Like the weed socks and the weed shoes and the.
Yeah, you could actually buy that at Target.
You could. Yeah, they capitalized it.
And then that was like corny. And because it was illegal at the same time, the people who you knew who like were in the weed game were fucks.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times they were being major fucks.
I mean, because it was like, yeah, counterculture was really like, now I'm not going to follow the rules of society and I'm going to stay in my mom's basement.
But here's what I kind of go back on this statement because I don't really expect that I'm going to think Cheech and Chong are cool.
No.
Like, I think I'm going to be like, these doofs are flopping. That's what the theme of stoner movies is from what I've seen this week, is that doofs are flopping.
I think it's that luck comes your way when you're stoned. Because all these guys get in these situations and then somehow everything just works out for them and everyone's on their side.
One of the ones I watched, the person did end up getting 1,500 hours of community service.
Whoa.
Or a 5-year sentence in jail. And so I learned a different lesson.
Interesting. The ones I watched, at the end, all of the villains end up getting high and realize it's awesome. Haha,
slay. And that is one thing stoner culture has going for it, is all of it's like, haha. Like, it's like cartoonish, the stuff I watched this week. And that is fun.
Yeah.
Have you watched stoner movies outside of this week? Like, is this part of your culture?
I have seen Pineapple Express.
Me too, because we freaking had to.
But that one was like shoved down our throats, don't you think? Like, it wasn't even.
It was like a cool commercial movie that you could watch at like 16 in Middle America.
Yeah.
And
it was at
like
the Regals and AMCs.
And that's on Seth Rogen. Go off Seth Rogen.
I know. He's the coolest guy to ever sell out.
He is. And I think the thing that this week watching the stoner movies I watched is that these people are getting into situations where I'm like, okay, I don't care how high you are. You are not that dumb. I'm like, they have an internal voice somewhere that's being like, don't do this. And I think in real life, when I hit my little weed vape, I'm doing activities such as my chores,
right,
dancing in the mirror in my bedroom,
going to the grocery store,
sweatpants on, thoughts being had, eating a good snack. Like, it's really not
scribbling in a notebook.
It's not reflecting, as if gazing into a pond, seeing my own reflection.
I don't know, maybe there's different types of stoners too.
I think there's two, and I think this has been made more allowed by legalization.
Okay.
I think the culture's broadened because now, like, you can be someone who says, like, doing weed and still, like, do weed.
Yeah.
You can take a little mint or gummy.
There's do weed culture and there's, like...
ripping bongs.
Yeah, blaze it.
Blaze it. 420 blaze it.
Yeah.
That was a funny one. I was, like, ironically involved in 420 blaze it culture in college, I would say.
I mean, I think you kind of have to. Although... This being your last time ever smoking weed. This is my first time ever smoking weed.
Huge day.
I know.
She did it to sell out, go off. Seth Rogen.
Yeah. Well, I did it to take over the torch for me. It's like a relay race.
The torch.
The burning torch.
Burn one. Haha.
Okay, wait. We've talked about this before on the pod, or maybe not on the pod, but we've talked about this.
In our private lives.
Yes, which we have. But you think that smoking weed is scary.
I think that in life, the balance it's not even a balance. The balance I try to get between 2 points, and the points are bored and scared. And I do think this part of weed culture that is in these movies that I think is pretty accurate is that, like, if you're bored enough to want to get high, you might get a little scared.
Well, I kind of think weed just makes me, at least it makes me just dumber.
Day one.
And I think
dumb,
right? But I think when you're dumber because you're high, you're either gonna like be placid and not care about anything and just be stupid and happy, or like you're gonna get scared because you're so dumb. You're like, something's gonna happen to me because I'm so dumb.
For me, it's more like I'm sort of having a brain blast.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're plugged into the Matrix.
I'm plugged. Exactly. And that could feel nice or kind of freaky.
Okay. You get smarter and I get dumber.
Sure. And I think based on the movies I watched, I also think there's like there's a weed culture like matrices about that, like which type of weed smoker are you?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I also think there's a layered over it racial matrices of different weed smoking culture, which I think is interesting.
So it's like a 3-dimensional Venn diagram of weed
totally
culture.
And you can put your hand in it and wave it around
like Iron Man and the holograms.
I've never even seen that, but doesn't that sound like some weed movie stuff? And that's just what 10-year-olds have been watching for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
What's that? My favorite weed movie, I realized today, thinking about this topic, is Gone Girl.
What?
Yeah. I want to watch a movie where I'm a little scared on purpose. Okay. And there's a twist.
Okay.
Twists, I think, are more weed culture to me.
Right, because you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
That's how I want it. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Is a whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. And I feel like when I'm smoking weed, I'm like, I'm Gone Girl right now. I'm like cleaning a knife meaningfully in the kitchen.
I feel like a lot of these like weed comedy movies are actually, I mean, they're definitely stupid in a way that can be enjoyed high, but they're also like, quippy comedies. And I agree, like that's not really what I'm trying to watch when I'm stoned.
No.
I want to watch like a nature documentary or something.
I want to watch Arrival starring Amy Adams.
Yes.
Where she has to speak symbol language to big alien
That's a good one.
Forms.
But I want something like slow moving and like weird.
Ethereal.
Annihilation. Another good
Love.
one.
A great one. Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting that these are like the movies about the culture. But it's not actually what I would like.
Yeah. I want to watch a quippy comedy when I'm not high so I can appreciate the jokes.
On this podcast we're joke appreciators and we want to take them raw. We want to take our jokes raw.
Yeah, unfiltered.
Okay, I was wondering when I was watching these movies if you are supposed to in fact watch them while high.
Well, what's interesting is I was reading the reviews of like one of the movies that I'm doing, and the reviewers were like, even if you watch this high, it's only kind of fun.
Okay, my reviewers were like, even if you are not high and have never been stoned in your life, because I would never do that, this movie was a hoot and a wild ride. And I was like, is it? Dork?
Interesting that your movies are both better than the ones I watched, and like what did you say about it? They have consequences. They have real consequences.
There's more consequences.
Yeah.
And the ones I watched star a white woman and model minority guys. And I think that's coming into play. Like, what's happening?
Okay, so basically for this episode, what we're going to do is go back and forth with happenstances.
Yes.
On pretty well-known weed movies.
We selected 4 movies today.
In honor of... Because we believe in numerology.
Today.
Just today.
This is our first day and maybe last day believing numerology. And right now we're going to try to spend only 20 minutes each on them.
Yeah, like 420 itself, the most magical number
of the day. And if we somehow can't do that, sorry, we have to record for 4 hours and 20 minutes.
We don't have a choice. That's numerology for you.
And Joe Rogan does it every week, so why can't we?
Yeah. I was thinking maybe we could start with the movie that potentially invented the genre of stoner movies.
I think it did.
Okay. And that would be Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke from 1978.
Up in Smoke. Not up in vape. Not up in edibles.
It was a simpler time.
Smoke.
So Sam is guessing for this one, and then I have the real plot.
Cheech and Chong. At least best friends. I always love this in a movie because I think it automatically makes things funnier. Whenever 2 people have the same dad and different moms. Like, I think Cheech and Chong, their famous dynamic is that Cheech is Mexican and Chong is Asian. I'm not sure what sort.
He's like Asian.
But they both look like kind of like stoner Jesus-y.
Yeah.
And so I'm positing that they have a dad who, in my plot, I really don't think this is true. But all I could think of is that they share a dad and he's like the rich old mayor of San Francisco.
Okay.
And it's a joke in the movie that he has like thousands of children
that kind of look like that.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have like a lot to live up to, and they're like, oh, our freaking dad. I also had a hard time thinking about this movie because I only know them as old.
Yeah. What did they even look like?
I looked at like one picture and I was like, oh, so they're not old. But the thing about when you look like weed Jesus is you actually looked old the whole time.
Yeah.
So I looked and was like, these guys have been 70 forever.
Well, because they've been smoking
yeah,
so much.
That's probably true. And I think like driving around in the desert.
Yeah.
Dry.
I mean, everyone looked old back then. We've talked about this before.
We have like why was it, despite all the we are supposed to have the microplastic equivalent of an entire plastic spoon in our head, both of us.
Maybe that's helping us.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why, if that's true, why were people before the year 2000 turning 30 and looking like time to retire?
It's also crazy because remember our ozone layer got fucked too?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many reasons why we should look
you
older.
Would think.
And I know like people like get Botox and things like that, but
not everybody.
No.
And it's like a stylistic choice. Maybe it's that we don't have kids, so we're not all like cropping our hair into like that 80s mom hair when we turn 30. Because I think back in the day people were turning 30 and having kids.
When we are like smoking less on balance.
Yeah. But I'm not doing literally anything else that's good for me. So I don't freaking know why I don't look 65 years old.
I don't know. And our diets are worse. And
mine's so bad.
This is crazy to think about.
I know the health implications of Cheech and Chong, but they have, in my mind, been old this whole time. But I'm pretty sure they're both still going.
Yeah. Well, I was about to say that. Like, they look pretty good for their age. Like, now they just look bad for their age for a long time.
Maybe that's not a bad trade. Then they were chilling.
Yeah, trucking on.
Trucking on. I think that's what they do in this movie. To go back to the movies, they're trucking on. That's a theme I learned about in the stoner movies I watched. Is you have to kind of be on a quest, and I think that goes with the illegal nature of weed at the time. Because famously, what always happens is you lose your big stash of weed that you're excited about.
Yeah,
and then you have to go get more. But also, there's what was stressing me out about these movies is so like that's a problem.
Yeah.
And then also there's an electric bill to be paid. Someone's about to kick you out of your apartment.
Yeah.
You have a med school interview tomorrow.
There's stakes, yeah.
Yeah. Guys, just this one day, take a break.
Right.
That's what I was feeling like. But
it's not the 420 spirit.
It's not the 420 spirit. Also, I think I'm like, I don't want to watch a movie where I'm like stressed out. And I feel like whenever I am HIGH, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah. Being stressed out.
These people, they don't even care. I think Cheech and Chong really don't care. Because I think the cultural climate at the time was more conservative than it's been.
Yeah.
Since our day.
Late
until
70s,
maybe recently.
Yeah. That was like the swing into Reagan and stuff.
Yeah. And I think they were like bad. But everyone who's old talks about them like they're like friend's older brother. Yeah. And has an affectionate
those rascals.
They're rascals. Yeah. So I think they're non-threatening, which I also think is a weed protagonist. Yeah. Vibe for the most part. So basically I think for some reason their dad's the mayor of San Francisco. I don't know how relevant that is. And I think they drive around in the desert in like a Camaro, which is Dukes of Hazzard, but I don't care.
That's just what people were doing back then.
It seems like it.
It was also all the desert back then, even though climate change happened after that.
Because it was closer to the Dust Bowl. Maybe it was the Dust Bowl that was making everyone look like that. The boll weevil and the Dust Bowl. I love those words together.
Boll weevil.
Boll weevil, Dust Bowl.
What's a boll weevil?
It was so at the same time as I think we were overcropping what was formerly just the bowl, then became the Dust Bowl. And that messed up the soil. Yeah. There's also these things called boll weevils that came through and like ate all the crops and like I think hastened the problem.
You saying boll weevil is like the most southern you've ever sounded.
I bet. And guess what? I love it. Boll weevil. Some people would say boll. Boll weevil. Dust ball and ball weevils. And then that's what everyone said. Freaking dust ball and ball weevils.
And that, that's why they're old. Yeah.
And that's why they're old.
And they're still driving around in it. And
windows down or windows up smoking in the car.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Never down while they're smoking.
No. Only down after. Yeah. When they're like drinking water or something. Yeah. But I think Cheech and Chong in my mind like don't have any responsibilities. Okay. I feel like one of them is like a clerk at like a gas station or something. And the other one's a guy who hangs out there. And then I like the idea of them being brothers because I just think that allows for more physical comedy they can do with each other because brothers are allowed to be like bop each other in the back of the head and stuff. Yeah. I think they're bopping each other.
You're picturing like a Laurel and Hardy situation.
As much as I can picture that based on not knowing them, yes, I am. Does one of them not talk?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Who I was really thinking about is the Clerks movie guys.
Oh yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob. Mm-hmm. And what works there famously is
Silent Bob Silent.
Pretty good.
Smart.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Cheech and Chong did have a dynamic like that.
Okay.
Because I actually have only seen Cheech speak.
Oh, it's like a Penn and Teller thing.
I don't know if it is in the movies, but like in the post-movie world, it's like Cheech talks, Chong sits there. And Cheech does like commercials for like heart medicine now. But I think when they show Chong, he just has a soft smile.
It's just so funny to be the silent one. Like, what do you bring to the table? You have to bring so
serenity.
Much. Yeah.
You have to bring serenity and inner peace to the table.
Too.
And him being named Teller but not speaking. Where's comedy like that anymore?
And Penn's the like unlikable one, but he has to talk.
Yeah, because I think that's the thing. Whoever's talking too much, that's always a red flag.
Yeah.
It's like on a reality show when you talk too much, it's like they're about to get cut. And then the silent person, we are like, love them. Like the cat cactus, we love her.
Yeah.
Because she's not saying anything.
She's the most valuable person on this podcast, actually.
Yeah. So that's their dynamic, I think. And I think they drive around the desert. I think they probably go into Tijuana, Mexico. And maybe Cheech has family there.
That might yes, that's literally right.
Okay, that seems like where they belong.
Tijuana.
They go to Tijuana. I think they like lose their weed in like San Francisco.
Okay.
At the park with all the hippies. And I think they're in a gay district and probably a little homophobic. Because that's in weed movies from what I've seen this week.
Oh, there's homophobia in weed movies?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is, but in a way that I was like, interesting. We'll get to this later.
Okay.
So I think they lose their weed in San Francisco and then they can't get more weed even though their dad's the mayor. And they're like, ugh. I think that's important in stoner culture, is being like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then so obviously one of them comes up with the idea to go down to Tijuana to get just crazy. What did they call it back then? Pot. Hash.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff
reefer.
Like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, the word reefer makes me cringe. I don't want to be involved with reefer.
Well, that's because you've probably only heard your like uncle or a cop or like, you know,
yes.
Those are the kind of people
it's giving out of touch. Yeah. It's like not cool style. But eventually our words for it will be uncool too.
Yeah.
You know? And it gets passed down that way. But it is funny. So yeah, they're going to go score some reefer.
Okay.
One time, I thought of this earlier, but I didn't say it because I was trying not to say it, but now I decided it's coming out. It doesn't even mean anything. I used to work at this job where this old guy who's a realtor who owned a bunch of billboards would come in and try to like be cool and like relate to me. And I think I wasn't even in weed culture this time, but he would just take a look at me and be like, And one day he was trying to tell me a story about how he caught like the guys doing construction on his house smoking weed, but he was cool with it. And that was the twist. He didn't try it or anything. Okay. He was cool with it. And he wanted to tell me he was cool with it.
Oh, okay.
And he said, I went to around the back of the house and it was a hemp fest.
A hemp fest?
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, what a nerd.
Oh, that sucks for him. He was really trying to connect with you.
He did. And ultimately, I think I did think that the whole situation was funny. So I bet he got the laugh. But he wanted me to be like up top.
Hemp Fest.
Yeah, that's what I'm freaking
Hemp
talking
Fest
about.
2025. That's what this episode is.
Yeah. And hemp's the kind that you can't even smoke or anything. You can just make like a purse out of it.
Yeah, it's just it's a weed byproduct, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's no THC in it.
Yeah.
Man from Sam's past.
Man from my past. It's crazy that anyone you've ever talked to actually could be a man from your past. That sounds so dramatic, but like, no. They're just around. So I think Cheech and Chong go to Tijuana. This is another thing that I'm like, I think weed culture is very bro-y masculine.
Yes. I was thinking about that too.
Because I think when you get HIGH, it makes you vulnerable. And it's safer for like men historically.
Right.
To do that in a way. Well, and not black guys.
I think it's also the countercultural thing. Like I feel like men get to like
they need that.
They get to opt out of like societal obligations easier than women do.
And especially in the 70s because the obligation was go to war. And that was like a big deal.
Right.
They were like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and womenly obligations were like cook,
stay home
and cook.
And they could be high too, and guess what they were doing? Being normal and staying home and cooking.
I mean,
but they weren't allowed.
They were on like lithium and shit back then.
Shit. Yeah.
Laudanum. That was a big one back then.
Yes.
They were doing
stuff without a smell or
Yeah.
taste.
They had to do it secret style.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Cheech Chong, they can do it smelly style. They can do donuts in a Camaro in like a bed of cactuses in the desert.
Yeah.
And that's facts. So I brought up the masculinization thing of like weed culture because I'm like, does this movie have boobs in it or not? Did you glean that when you read the summary? Because I think it's 50-50 if weed movies also are like tits or if not, because they can be PG like a cartoon,
right? Yeah,
because like weed people are sweet glumps. Or
right. The other one, which I did watch, there were boobs in it, and it was like that.
Okay, that's what I figured. I think Pineapple Express is like that, but Cheech and Chong to me are so cartoonish. I'm like, no boobs for them.
I feel like it's more likely they're like nudie magazines or something.
Okay, and you know what? Fine by me. They need something to do in the car.
Yeah.
So I think that's funny. Even if Cheech is giving a monologue, Chong's just smiling serenely, looking at a nudie mag.
A nudie mag.
And then maybe it blows out the window, and they have to like swerve the car to go get it.
Because nudes were so valuable back then.
They really were. As was marijuana. Yeah. I think I just really learned a lot about culture through these movies this week. So anyway, I think they go to Tijuana. They try to get weed from like. I want to pretend that Cheech has a sister and Chong can love her. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a fun little thing, but they can't be together because Chong's a mess.
Yeah.
And then the sister's like, no, Cheech, I'm not going to give you weed. And then he probably goes and tries to get it from like someone scarier. Like a cartel guy. I feel like some of these movies have cartel guys.
Yeah.
And then I think, see, I don't know if this was true in the 70s, but all the ones now have like a shootout part. Which I also don't think is in the 420 Easter spirit.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like I'm just going to tell you.
Okay.
This movie's all about them running from the cops.
Okay. I see. So maybe they go to Mexico, they're fleeing. Mm-hmm. God, stakes are so high that they have to run from the whole cops.
I know, but it is in like an oafish way. Like the cops are not competent.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah,
okay, I got you. So it is like cartoon then.
It's
Roadrunner
like
vibes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think ultimately, I don't even care if they run from the cops. I want them to all go to a beach in like Mexico and gaze off into the ocean.
Okay. That's a beautiful image.
And I've also noticed that the end of these movies have a final speech. Chong should give it.
Okay.
And that's really all I got.
At this point, we both know the weed movie, like, things that happen.
Yes.
And it's
just so limited.
It is just going to be like, yeah, a combination of those things.
Okay. Hit me.
I like your brother's idea. That's fun. But unfortunately, they're not.
Boo.
Yeah, but one thing that happened in both of my movies is like the characters aren't a duo. They like meet in the movie.
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah.
They're on separate quests.
Well, no. They pick each other up early, but they like didn't previously.
Is it hitchhiking?
Yeah.
They love hitchhiking in these too.
Mm-hmm. The first guy is a guy named Man Stoner.
Is that Cheech or Chong?
Chong.
They're not named Cheech and Chong?
No.
That's absurd.
yeah.
That's freaking absurd.
In the sequels, they are.
Okay, so they finally got to be like name status.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in this one, there's a guy named Man Stoner, who's an unemployed pothead drummer.
Hell yeah.
And his parents are like, you either have to get a job or we're going to send you to military school.
Okay, he's young enough for that to happen.
I don't work.
I'm throwing up. I cannot imagine this man's ever been that young. I was still being like, we open. They're 45.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that also threw me for a loop. I guess so, but he's like young. What is the age where you can get sent to military school but also get a job? Is that like
18?
18.
Yeah.
You can still send you to military school. I guess they can. Yeah.
I think so. You could go to college. You could go to what's that one?
West Point.
You could go to West Point. Your parents could force you to go to West Point. That seems real. I think people actually want to go there really bad, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's so not weed culture.
No, on that one, I'm team weed culture.
Yeah.
Weed culture versus West Point.
Culture, yeah.
Weed culture, yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
he leaves the house and then gets stranded on the highway and is picked up hitchhiking style by an equally enthusiastic stoner, it said, Pedro.
Okay.
And
Is that Chong?
Yes. No, Cheech. Pedro is
Chong.
Cheech.
Chong was initially the character. Cheech is Pedro.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. And then they smoke a giant joint that has dog shit in it, obviously.
Ha ha. Okay, that's weed culture. Ha ha.
and then they also accidentally take acid, of course. And then
I thought that. Okay, one thing I forgot to say is I did wish there was a part where they ran from the cops and then turned into mushrooms with eyes.
Ooh.
Because I thought there should be more psychedelia in this one as well.
That's what the like newer round of stoner films and TV shows do.
You have to turn into a cartoon at some point.
Like Broad City does that.
All the
which
dang
also,
time.
I'm going to say Broad City, I think, is actually a stoner classic.
Yeah, I think they wanted that.
Yeah,
I think that feels like a more modern thing.
Yeah.
I still think they're kind of like ooh la la about it in a way where you're like, oh, because it's illegal still.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Well, that's why I wonder if we can even have any now. Like, can we have another modern stoner film?
I have been thinking about that too, because it's like lacking that core tension.
Yeah, and like, yeah, usually the whole point is, oh, we don't have our weed, our precious weed, but now like anyone can just go buy some.
Yeah.
Anyway. So the cops find them now that they're on acid. And then they get arrested, and then but then they find out the judge is drinking vodka, so they
drink some of the vodka.
No, they just get off scot-free or something. This is a theme. This movie is very like what do you call it when it's like a bunch of events
hijinks
instead of it's not really like an overarching
it's episodic
plot. A little bit, yeah,
because it's just a slice of life because you are just on like a journey. I respect that.
But all of them pretty much involve them getting into a tense situation where the cops are chasing them and then somehow everything's okay. Like that just keeps happening. The cops keep coming back.
I agree.
And so
I do like that in Broad City, the problems they're facing are like you have to talk to your coworker outside of work and you're high at the park and you're like, because that feels more like the real stakes.
Right. And Broad City, because we briefly talked about this, but stoner culture being male. And I think Broad City is one of the best examples of like woman
girl
stoner.
style.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm also like, guess what? I could be normal and be like this. And that's what also lacking from these movies. Sometimes I'm like, I could land a plane.
When you're high?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even think that's funny. So, where's that culture? Anyway.
Yeah. Of course. Functional stoner, you might say.
Functional, exactly.
Okay, so the next one is they try to get more marijuana from their cousin.
Okay, I ding. I think we more weed from family member.
Yeah.
I said that.
Yeah, you did. And then they escape a police raid, of course. And then they get deported to Tijuana.
Yeah.
In
like a crate.
I don't know if it's in a crate.
Like a fun style crate. That's what I imagine.
Okay. It's fun. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It is actually this part made me laugh when I read the summary.
I did walk into the living room earlier and you were smirking and shaking your head side to side like, oh, these rascals.
Yeah. No, this one I thought was funny.
This? Yeah.
So they get deported by ICE along with Pedro's relatives. And you find out that Pedro's relatives called ICE on themselves so that they could get a free ride to a wedding in Tijuana.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
That made me like genuinely smirk. Yeah.
And that's like giving like the racial systemic commentary.
Yeah, exactly.
Type stuff. Exactly. That is embroiled in all these movies.
Yes.
In a way that I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get back to the
That's
US.
fun. They go to a wedding.
Yeah. I guess they do go to a wedding. Yeah.
I love that. That's what I want to do if I'm a little Chinese.
Yeah.
I want to go to someone's
being
wedding.
High at like high stakes events.
But okay, here's the thing. And this podcast is so antithetical. I don't want to talk about it. That's where I think all these movies, and that's where I'm against it. So I'm like, guys, grow up.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
To get right with yourself.
Right. But then, yeah, get it together.
Get it together.
Yeah. These guys can never get it together.
They cannot get it together. That's why all week I was stressing out. And then in like Arrival/Gone Girl, guess what?
They're getting it together.
They freaking have it together.
And you know those ladies are stoned.
Or something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing about lady stoners, I think. They
have to have it together.
They are getting it together. Well, like in Broad City, it's like they are doing regular tasks.
And the girl one I watched, she was the least together I've ever seen in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
the smell of dog food just washed over me, and Hank and dog food isn't even in this room.
What does that mean?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm trying to give the viewers more of a free and sensory experience.
That's how we're gonna get to 4 hours.
Yeah. Woohoo. Is through 4D.
4D.
Go smell some dog food during this part of the pod. and it will be like you were here.
Imagine if we could do like the squirt water at them thing.
The mist. That's coming back apparently. They did the Minecraft movie with showings like that.
Exciting.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
For the next Avatar movie.
First 4D theaters, next Jurassic Park.
Save it for the predictions.
Okay. That's my prediction. I'm clocking out later. I'm not doing a prediction later. My prediction is that Jurassic Park's going to be soon. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They just invented a fake direwolf based on Game of Thrones. It's a real creature.
It's not based on Game of Thrones. It's based on the prehistoric animal, the direwolf.
Even worse.
They're trying to bring back prehistoric animals.
But they're trying to call it a direwolf because of Game of Thrones branding. And they want to sell it as that. And that's why they brought a prehistoric animal back from the dead.
When are they doing dragons?
Probably like...
next.
45. Yeah.
Cool. That's actually a good... Nobody steal that.
What, the dragons come in 2045?
Yeah. That young adult novel.
Oh, I was thinking more like it was like a Mayan 2012 style prediction and it was that serious. No one steal that. No. That's happenstance.
We'll write both.
All right, done. And that's how you have to live these days.
Yeah.
Ready for anything.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So they... to get back in the US, they pick up a vehicle, but then find out that it's like... they're trying to smuggle weed.
Yeah, of course.
It's a vehicle trying to smuggle weed. But so the van is built out of weed. And they call it fiber weed, which is supposed to be a play on the word fiberglass. But I'm like, why not fibergrass?
Grass.
Why
because
did they
these
go with
people were freaking
weed?
high.
This is so like that enraged me.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Well, that's the other thing about these I wonder are the people writing them like actually like cool stoners or are they like the people who could get it together to write a film?
I think Cheech Chong wrote this one, but I might be wrong. Here,
okay. Maybe they improv that incredible play.
It was written by them.
They improv fiberweed.
Fiberweed.
And that was actually the height of improv in the 70s.
Come on, fibergrass is like, it's so right there.
But one of them could have said, it's too obvious. People can just say anything. People can always just say anything.
Yeah.
And that's even more true if people are permissively high.
Yeah, you're right. If the director's high.
Yes. I also think in these, the way they portray the like experience of being stoned is interesting because it always feels more I think in Broad City too, it's like more extreme than it actually is.
What? Yeah.
Like where you become a cartoon or like everything's wiggly or you're like, whoa. Like it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Being high is a regular experience.
I think it's more like a smell thing. I think I've unlocked something.
What?
If you want to make people understand the experience of being high while they watch a film, it should be 4D.
Okay.
And you should get a slight shitty mist on you and like slight smell and you're kind of like, huh.
I think being high is more about like, I think it's just auditory for me. Like I just hear every single thought that you could possibly have. You know what I mean? Like that's probably what this podcast episode sounds like, is us just saying every single thought that pops into our head willy-nilly.
Bro, but that's like every episode of our podcast. What is even the difference, you know? If it's 420 or not.
Every day's the same.
That's how these movies all start like that.
Yeah. Actually, the other one that I watched started with joy, I would say.
Aw. Mine definitely start with the same shit, different day. Anyway, what happens to old Cheech Chong? Love the wedding, love the crate.
Yeah, so they get to back to America in a weed van.
The fiber
weed van. Then there's another police shootout that doesn't go anywhere, and then
why is everyone always shooting in these movies?
Yeah, then they perform at a battle of the bands.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm freaking talking about.
And then because their van is made out of weed, all the cops that are chasing them accidentally get high because of the smoke coming out of the
exhaust pipe. Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay, so that's funny too.
Basically, then the cops get so high that they're just having a good time and they stop chasing them.
Peace and love.
And it ends with them just driving and smoke billowing out of the car and they're fighting.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
So that's Cheech and Chong.
And they're gonna go do it again.
Yes, it was pretty poorly received. And this is the one where all the critics were like, even if you're high, I can't see how you would enjoy this movie.
Okay, and I think I believe them in the 70s. I don't trust these 2004 MFs that I was reading from. Okay. Cheech and Chong.
Cheech and Chong.
May you live out the rest of your years happily.
Because all the other movies we're talking about are in the legacy of this one, ultimately.
Yeah.
So
what do you say to someone who has a legacy? Like, you call him your honor or something. Like, I don't know.
Your lordship.
We need something formal to say towards them. Like, I have nothing. For some reason, weed culture is also about like medieval times and being like my liege. And leprechauns and wizards.
Yes.
It's about sort of mystical verbiage and stuff.
Yeah, creatures and it's like the rainbow thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say except but I'm being like, we're 100%
Alice
correct.
in Wonderland. Huge.
That freaking caterpillar.
Yeah.
He talks like John Lennon with peace and love. 1, 2, 3. That's what he says. Why is he counting?
Because he's high.
He's blowing smoke rings. That degenerate.
Yeah. Just like this freaking.
Yeah, this is actually the caterpillar's her legacy.
Cat pussy. Cactus pussy.
Cat. I named it appropriately earlier. Cactus. Cactus cat. It's cactus cat. Cactus cat. And she is a nurse. Okay. What do you want to guess about? Do you want to guess about Smiley Face first or Harold and Kumar?
I feel like Harold and Kumar feels like a natural next one to me.
Okay.
Cheech and Chong.
Two guys.
And Kumar. Two guys.
Freaking two guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull up the Wikipedia. So I did watch this one. And I will say, to me, this was the most relatable of the two I watched.
Okay.
And I thought that was interesting.
Because the other one's about a white woman.
A blonde woman in LA.
Yeah.
Who is a struggling actress.
Interesting.
And trying to get around town while being too high. I was like, no.
Oh, interesting.
I'm actually two Asian guys in 2004. Is what I
you
learned.
love Asians, though.
There's just... It's the bitchy thing. It's that I feel like Asians have standards.
Yeah.
And those are two of my values.
Yeah, being bitchy and having standards.
And having freaking standards.
Right.
Yes. And I think I can be as much of a fuck as an Asian person. And vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Shake of the hand.
And
That's what I'm trying to do.
I feel like Asians aren't boring.
No. Love. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But it's positive, so.
It is positive.
Yeah.
What's wrong with saying a positive racially coded thing? Shrug.
I don't know. That wasn't even racially coded. That was just racial.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying I'm trying to offer in stoner culture a white woman shake of the hand to Asian guys. And this movie is about that, actually.
It's like, you know the meme of like the hands clasping fists or whatever.
Yeah. And
it's like a lighter skin person with darker skin.
This is one of those moments.
That's you and Asian.
And I think weed culture can bring people together like that.
Yes.
And I think that is huge. And part of why people are trying to make it, they wanted it to be illegal.
It is about peace and love. Ultimately,
peace and love.
I don't think you can be a hateful person except for Elon Musk. But he's
He's not
stoner.
inhaling. Yeah.
He's a fake stoner, yeah.
He's doing it wrong.
Yeah, he's the cringe kind of stoner. Like he's into like the cultural
dark
signifiers.
gothic magna nerd.
Yeah.
Doesn't understand humor.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, I feel like he doesn't even have lungs. Has anyone checked him for lungs recently? I bet they're not in there.
What a wild accusation from Sam Gibson.
Thank you. In 2025, I'm saying stuff like that now. I'm being incendiary. Okay. So, Harold and Kumar.
Or wait, I'm supposed to guess, right?
Oh yeah, but I just wanted to pop off. Go ahead.
Oh no, pop off.
No. I was gonna get into the plot because I was like, here's my feelings on this topic. Like I'm ready to pop off. But you go. That's what we do here.
That's how it works.
Happenstance.
Happenstance.
A podcast where we give our stance on what happens in a TV show or movie we haven't seen. We didn't hit y'all with that one today.
No,
so that's what this has been about.
So my thoughts about Harold and Kumar are more about my thoughts of like the idea of being an Asian stoner.
Yes.
And I mean, it's also, the full title is Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Which, of course, that's an iconic title. Just so...
Is White Castle iconic to you?
Honestly, I think I heard about it from these movies.
Me too. And I was like, is it real? I didn't Google it, but I thought that.
White Castle? You don't know if White Castle's real?
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so
it's
you know
a fast
that,
food chain.
But you heard of it from these movies.
Yeah, well, because it's not like a McDonald's. Like, it's not everywhere.
Where do you think Harold and Kumar live?
Pennsylvania.
New Jersey, baby. Just like, guess who?
Me.
Yeah.
I'm an Asian stoner from New Jersey.
And that's why I wondered if you loved White Castle and this was all what's up there.
No, but there are. I thought there were White Castles around here too. I just don't know where, because they're so cursed and shitty.
That you get that sense from the movie, and that's part of the haha factor. Yeah.
But anyway, okay. I think being an Asian stoner is about obviously disappointing your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, being a fucking rejecting the boringness of the life you're supposed to have or whatever. And so I think they both are like on track to becoming like doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever. But I'd almost want them to discover weed in this movie.
That's funny. Okay, so it's like a Rumspringa kind of situation. Wait, that's a funny movie.
Like an Asian Rumspringa.
Okay, that's good. Or I was just gonna say like Amish stoner movie.
Amish stoner movie or Asian Rumspringa.
Why not both?
Why not both?
And it's a spiritual. They're like a duology.
Yeah.
Ever heard that word?
But I think the Amish stoner movie should end with him being Amish again, but bringing weed into his community and saying there's nothing preventing us from doing this. It's just farming.
That's a hilarious reason to do anything. It's so true.
But like, you know how like their Amish ideology or whatever, they're not allowed to use technology.
Yes.
I think you can be a stoner with very little technology.
100%. You have an apple.
Yeah.
You can smoke weed.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That is also, I think, one of the parts of weed culture that I'm aligned with is inventiveness and industriousness.
Yeah. If it has a bowl area, it's a bong.
And whimsy. And like, making do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out.
Being poor.
Yeah. And a pinch. Being in a pinch. Or not being poor, but being a fuck. That's also a big theme. All right, anyway.
And what weed culture has done for the junk food industry.
That's all I eat. And that's not even related to like the weed. It's been like that the whole time, you know?
Okay, so I think the movie starts with them being like their boring corporate selves or whatever, and then maybe they have an interaction with like there's always like another weirder guy than the main
dealer type one.
Like a weird fucked up guy who's like, I got something for ya.
That's the other thing that like legal weed culture cuts out
is
interacting with that type of guy, which is why you get into weed hijinks like in these movies.
Yes.
That's why I don't think it can happen anymore.
Yeah, like was it James Franco who did that in Pineapple Express? Yeah.
Yes. And that's real. If you buy marijuana, so I've heard, you do have to go hang out with the person who sells it to you for like an hour and ask like, how's it going? And like go on that journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like, and you don't have to do that at all. You just have to interact with like the polite professional people at your dispensary.
Yes. And you can like peruse the graphic design and be like, lovely.
Exactly.
And it's so different.
And some of these dispensaries look like Apple stores.
A lot of them. Also, I think it's like, I think if you could take away the illegality part but keep the weird guy, I support that culture.
There's still other drugs you have to do that for.
That is true.
Plenty of others.
But I think it should be a chill experience. Yeah. That's why I'm advocating for full legality, non-carcerated.
Here's the thing.
Weed crime.
With all the freaking tariffs, you might have to do that with like
toilet
toothbrushes. Yeah, you're gonna have to go to your sketchy toiletries dealer.
That should be me. That'd be a good job for me.
Sam Gibson,
toiletries dealer. You need some deodorant. Deodorant is so expensive.
Is it really?
I would buy it from a weird person.
Okay.
Hey, weird people, text me. Text me. I'll buy your old deodorant. If you're a weird person, I know I'll buy your old deodorant.
Dude, I got this new strain of deodorant
it's
for
sticky.
you.
It's sticky, icky. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so some weird guy gets Harold and Kumar to smoke weed for the first time. They love it.
He opens his third eye.
Yeah, and they're like, wow, that's the other thing I was going to say. I think there's going to be a lot of like Indian and East Asian cultural things coming out. Yeah. Like I think like there's a specific kind of like Indian stoner culture or whatever. Like, you know, the like Eastern... Think like a many-armed god and like and like a sitar going
yes,
and then like that's like that's huge.
That's huge.
That's the Beatles.
That's huge. That's what's up. Yeah.
And I think there's gonna be a lot of like like sequences that are kind of like that. And then Easterns, I don't know about East Asian stoners. Is that like monks or something? I don't know.
Anyone, it could be anybody. That's the freaking thing.
Yeah,
but maybe not, because it does tend to be more illegal in East Asian countries.
Yeah, like Singapore, they take you back like, and shoot you in the head.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's the thing, guys. The guns weed thing being like together, they need to be divorced.
I think now they kind of are.
Yeah,
like I don't think you can make a movie like this. Well, you could, but it would be like police brutality code,
right? Which some of them already are.
Yeah,
because they're also commenting on that,
right?
Which I think is interesting.
Yeah. Well, so what I know about Harold and Kumar is that they are on this epic quest to go to White Castle. I think that's like pretty
baked in.
Yeah. But I think it's gonna be like allegorical.
Say more.
I think White Castle represents like heaven or paradise.
Totally.
And I think it's gonna be like the Asian stoner paradise. And all of the obstacles on their way are about like kind of vanquishing all the things about their lives that they hate. Okay.
To me, this is also kind of giving movie where the mom and the daughter are at the laundromat in multiple dimensions.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes. That's what she was doing, I would say.
Becoming a stoner,
like low-key. Okay. And like vanquishing her demons, if that makes. She's like working through some stuff
that would be a fun movie to watch high.
Also, I think that's who I want to see a weed movie about is Michelle Yeoh. That's fun.
Yeah.
Or like all these grandma movies, 80 for Brady.
Yeah,
they should smoke weed.
Stoner grandma movies.
That'd be
funny. Really good.
Yeah. Okay, so that can be in our trilogy of, what did we say was going to be? Amish weed smoking, Asian Rumspringa, Grandma Rumspringa. The Rumspringa trilogy. Yeah. Okay, great. Our careers are handled. They're going to bring back movies just for those.
We're going to bring back old people just for
those. Single-handedly being old is going to be in, and movies are going to be in.
Yeah. But... Wait, where was I?
They're White Castle. They're on an allegorical journey to White Castle, which represents heaven, and they're battling their demons type thing.
Exactly.
On the way. Okay.
I think they're gonna have to fight their parents. They're gonna have the big conversations that Asian kids don't want to have with their parents.
Real.
Yes. Like, I smoke weed now, and I don't want to be a doctor.
Yeah. They couldn't podcast.
Yeah.
They had to go direct.
Exactly. They couldn't, put it out on the airwaves.
Yeah, they couldn't be like, hey, check my Instagram, parents.
Yeah.
I knew multiple people, this is not the same thing, but who in high school came out on Facebook.
To their parents, too?
To everyone, yeah. They just were like handled.
Yeah.
Let me type this out on my BlackBerry.
I knew a girl who announced her name change on Facebook and didn't tell anyone in person, and then was mad if you used the wrong name. Yeah,
because you're supposed to check everyone's Facebook to make sure you know what's up before you
before you know what they're
it's
going
their
by
dossier.
Now. Also, she wasn't trans or anything. She just changed her name.
To what? Oh, you don't have to dox her, I guess.
I'm trying not to dox her.
Say like a fake version of the name.
Like from Victoria to Aaron or something.
Okay. That doesn't feel different enough for it to be like...
I know.
Didn't you tell me the name of someone else in your life who's like a science teacher and changed her name to
that was my... I will dogs her.
I say, what's the name?
That was my 9th grade science teacher, or maybe 9th grade. Zeta Zena Cam.
Legend. That's weed culture. That's legend. She can be in the 80 for Brady weed movie.
Yeah, she would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love her.
That's so funny. In 9th grade, I do want to see a weed movie about a 9th grade science teacher.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Those people are smoking.
Yeah.
Weed.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yes. I used to work with this person who was a school like teacher and training aide, and she would go baked all the time because she was like, it's 8th grade, it's boring. And there's a kid in her science class who'd be high too. And one time she caught him being high, and he said, I know you are too. And she looked at him in the eyes and she said, do not say anything. And then she pretended she didn't see that weed fell out of his backpack because they were equals.
Oh,
he got her ass.
Oh my god!
And I think that's also the beauty of weed. It's leveling the playing.
But also, how high is she that her students can tell?
She had like googly eyes a little bit.
Okay,
you could tell.
Okay.
Some people, I think you can't tell.
Yeah.
She's giving Billboard. And here's the thing: they don't care in our education system.
No,
they literally don't care.
They just need warm bodies.
Sad. Yeah. In the loneliness of early childhood education, they just need warm bodies.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I thought that was funny overall. No, is my stamp on that.
Yeah.
And that is the thing about weed culture again. Aw.
Yeah. Yeah, being high is funny. Like, because even if you get in a car crash, it's like a slow car crash.
Yeah. Stakes should be lower.
Yeah.
That's my beef with these movies. I'm like, guys, let's dial this. I want to see a stoner movie where the stakes are like, you can't get your bag of chips open, but that's making you be like, but like, that's it.
But that's what I want to be true for this Harold and Kumar movie. The stakes are just like,
they can't get their chips open.
They're flopping in life a little.
I hear you. They can't get their chips open. Their toilet is running.
Yeah, they're late for work like every day. And
I liked the one from Cheech Chong where they smoked a joint with dog shit. That made me laugh. Okay, so they're facing kind of mild inconveniences, but working through their stuff.
They're working through their stuff, and then I think they finally get to White Castle, and it's one of those like moments like that movie we watched recently, Voices, with Ryan Reynolds, where like it cuts between what they think it looks like and what it really looks like.
Yes.
And I think to them, White Castle is gonna look like a beautiful heavenly place with like a bunch of stoners who welcome them with open arms.
Mm-hmm. And wizards and maidens.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's in stoner
it's
heaven.
It's like Valhalla.
Yes. That's actually weed culture.
Valhalla is weed culture.
It's white dread culture. It's weed culture.
Yeah. But yeah, and then it looks like White Castle usually looks like, aka gross AF.
Okay.
So that's what I got. Yeah. And I guess there should be differences between them, but also we have to talk about them.
Okay.
Like John Cho.
Like in
Carl
general.
Penn. Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I didn't know when I watched this movie. Hot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they're hot in this?
Yeah.
I was like shook.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times they're not hot in weed movies.
No.
They're like slobs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The other one I watched, they are hot.
Okay. But aren't they like famous rappers?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in that era, aka the late 90s, all famous rappers had an incredible body.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me. And like real charisma.
That's the thing. Mm-hmm. It was hard to be a male rapper back then, actually. I think you did have to be hot in a way that like female pop stars have to be hot.
I agree. You had the hardest life of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And only the best like Drake rose to the top.
Who I would say is not meeting the standard. Drake has none of the traditional rap problems of being like hard-bodied, hard living.
No.
You have to worry about your mom and women and the cops.
No, he's like, a pretty boy rapper.
And from Canada, and I think his mom's like a nurse.
Yeah. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah. And he's a child actor.
Yeah.
But not in a way that's like, oh no, something bad happened. Like he was like 16 and like got to fake ride in a wheelchair.
And everyone
on TV.
had a crush on him. Every 8th grader in America had a crush on him.
Were people up there having crushes on Drake?
I think, yeah.
Really?
When he was in Degrassi.
I didn't know that. I thought he was goofy looking.
Huh.
Maybe that's Northeast culture. He's from Canada too. Maybe people in the cold weather see him and they're like, that's for me.
Yeah, he can survive our climate.
Exactly.
That's important when choosing a mate, to make sure that
they're climate ready. Yeah. They can climb a cool, like the shirts. Yeah. How are we doing on time?
We're an hour in.
We didn't start the timer. No, it's going to be 4 hours and 20 minutes. Buckle up. Okay. So Harold and Kumar, we open on these two white douches at a corporate office, and they're like, how are we gonna get off this weekend to party with strippers? We have too much work. And then they're like, let's go make that Asian guy do our work. He loves working. And then we get to the desk and there's Harold, and they give him the stuff and he's like, oh, okay. And then his bestie Kumar calls him up from he's in the cubicle and he's like, dude, we have to freaking party tonight. And Harold's like, I have to do all these freaking reports for my douche boss.
Yeah.
And Kumar's like, don't do that. Let's party tonight. Kumar's like, don't you have a med school interview? Oh. The joke is, Kumar's in a med school interview right now with the dean. And he's on the phone being like, get your pussy ass over here and let's get high.
Okay.
To Harold. So
in
Kumar's
front of the
bad.
dean?
Yes.
Okay.
Kumar doesn't give a fuck.
Does he get the...
No, but he thinks he does.
Oh.
He gets off the phone after being like, get your ass over here. We're smoking weed. And then looks at the guy in charge of the med school and is like, so I'm in, right? And he's like, no. And Kumar's like, that's cool.
Okay, so Kumar's the bad one, and then Harold is like
the good one.
The good one.
And the sweetie pie.
Okay.
So it's set up immediately and pretty well.
Okay.
I think. So Kumar's whole thing is that he has a doctor dad, doctor brother. He is a medical prodigy, but does not want to go to med school and wants to smoke weed and have a nice time.
That's his rights.
That's his rights, except for his dad pays for all his stuff and is going to cut him off if he doesn't go to med school.
Aha. I feel like I was a little right on this
Yes,
one.
you were. Ding, ding, ding. And then Harold is a recently graduated accountant.
Okay.
And is like kind of stunted, but it's not that bad.
Okay. I mean, if he's hot, he's John Cho. I personally find John Cho to be an attractive man.
He is.
Come on the pod, John Cho.
Or, what's Kumar's real name?
Just kidding. Or Kal Penn.
Kal Penn. Yeah, we can talk about democratic strategy or whatever you do now post this film.
Yeah. And you said this earlier.
Yeah.
I guess this truly means that smoking weed does not prevent you from getting a good job in government.
We say this because Johnson revealed to me that after Harold and Kumar, I was like, what does Kal Penn do now? And you were like, he worked in the Obama White House.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't even that long after this movie came out.
No, but I will say this movie is not that bad.
Oh.
I thought this movie was kind of like a more real vibe.
Okay.
Than the other one I watched and like other ones I've seen in this space.
Okay.
I guess. So that's the setup. Kumar's like, oh, you gotta come party. Harold's like, okay. They cut to the partying and it's just them on the couch watching TV and being so high. Okay. And as we get there, we learn that Harold has a crush on this sexy lady in his building who he rides the elevator with named Maria. Mm-hmm. And Kumar's obviously like, dude, you have to hit that. But if he tries to talk to her, he like throws up. Yeah. So classic situation.
Yeah.
And also like the real problems when you're high is you see your crush and you're like,
yeah.
Real.
Yeah. And you find out how boring and annoying everyone else is. That's my high
What do you
experience.
mean? Are you saying that's what Kumar's doing?
No, that's just what being high is
I'm
like.
opposite.
You're so entertained and amused by everyone.
I'm like rubbing third eyes with you. I'm doing third eye butterfly kisses.
Yeah, you're getting forehead grease all over your forehead.
Nice. Yeah, with another person. Yeah. That's sort of how I'm about. So they're doing that, and then they want to go to White Castle. Okay. Because they see a commercial for White Castle. Nice. Also, during the scene, I thought it was so funny. Kal Penn has a shirt on that says, this is giving weed culture, but I thought it was funny, post-ironically funny, and like cringe funny, if that makes sense. But his shirt says, I love Bush, the pussy, not the president. Bush means the pubes. It doesn't mean the vagina. Pussy, yeah. And it was in Comic Sans font. Yeah. So it's something you're thinking. That's something to think about, isn't it? Political commentary.
Those are such good, like, those are the kind of shirts you get by the beach. You know what I mean?
Yes, and that's weed culture.
Being by the beach and buying a stupid t-shirt.
A joke t-shirt. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what the Rick and Morty one I have on was at some point. This was gifted to me. So. Wow. Someone knew I needed this. Shade even. Shade. By giving me this, that was shade. So that's the setup. They go next door to go see, you're gonna love this, they're like alternates who are these two Jewish guys who are like worse than them, and they're ripping bongs, and Harold and Kumar are just doing joints, and they're like, guys, squat up, let's go to White Castle.
Oh my god, the Asian Jew dichotomy,
the Asian Jew alliance. Yeah, it's represented. So these guys say that they can't because they're watching a cable movie and they have to wait for Katie Holmes' tits to be on screen. And that was the sort of thing you could do with your night in 2004. Okay, so some highlights as they go on their quest is they also, this is more realistic, they get high before they go get burgers, and then they get as far as like a toll, and then Kumar's already not high and Harold's like anxious. And they're rolling another joint and Harold throws it out the window. Oh. And Kumar's like, what the hell, pussy? That's their dynamic. Okay. And Kumar's like, or Harold's like, I have to follow the rules. And then Kumar's like, okay, since you got rid of our weed, we have to go score more weed from that girl in Princeton, New Jersey that you used to date in college.
Wow. I used to live I grew up there.
Yeah. Wow. So they go to Princeton and there's like this nerdy Asian girl who's like really conservative, and they're all asking questions to Harold about like, how do you become a banker and stuff? And you can tell Harold's like, this isn't me, I'm cool. Yeah. And then a truly strange scene happens where these two British girls with really smooth hair and matching sweater vests meet them, and Kumar's just successfully bought more weed at Princeton.
And
the girls are like, who are you? Meet us in our dorm. We're going to smoke and have sex. And these girls are like, feel like from a different movie.
Okay.
So they show up and Kumar's like, Harold, you got to ditch the girl you used to date and we have to go have sex with these British girls. And then it's
always like a duo situation in these movies.
Yes.
It's never just one girl being like, let's have sex with you and me.
Because that's not comedy.
He has to bring his friend
That's
along.
Comedy. That's just funny. That's just funny. And showing up somewhere and being like, okay, so me and this person hit it off and I brought this one for you. That's such a movie thing that I think would never
happen in real life.
No, everyone would be mad.
Yeah. And it could never go well.
I think everyone would be offended. Sad. Yeah. Honestly sad that we don't have access to that.
Foursomes are so dead.
So dead. But they're dead in this movie too. At some point, they have to go run from the campus cops who know Kumar bought weed into a girl's bathroom. And they're in a stall. And then the British girls come in and they just say Taco Bell. And then they have a shit off.
Yeah.
I literally had to fast forward because I'm so grossed out by farts that I was like, I cannot
Wait, so
take
the
part in
two
this.
girls have a shit off?
And then Harold and Kumar are stuck in the middle stall.
And they're like, ugh, ew, girls.
Yes. But true. Like, these girls were being nasty, which is another weed culture thing that I think I'm like rock and roll about.
Is being nasty.
Is being nasty but a girl.
That's true. But I feel like this was in the era of like shitting being the height of comedy.
You could tell they thought this was the height of comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact they had a shit off, I was like, I'm gonna throw up.
And like pretty girls like shitting and doing gross things, that was also considered the height of comedy.
Yeah. So then they flee those two girls and they go by where the Asian party is that was supposed to be lame. It's a freaking Hemp Fest. But now Harold's not invited because he spurned his old like flame. And Kumar's like, fuck.
That's the other thing that's funny about these movies is that they're so desperate to be high.
They are. And when other people are getting high, it's like a music video.
Yeah.
Like it's like a scenario that's like not actually real at college.
Nobody's like, it's never, that's for alcohol. That's not for weed.
Right. Well, maybe soon because of the legality thing.
True, I guess. Yeah.
When my dad and me watched Pineapple Express, there's like a beginning scene where his coffee table is so full with weed accoutrement and it's like crazy. Like I was looking at that and I was like, this has to have cost like thousands of dollars. And my dad was like, is that what college parties are like? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
But he didn't even understand the scope of things. Crazy.
Yeah. Weed is like you pull it out of your pocket and then smoke it with the like 3 people next to you standing outside of a house party. It's not like there's a party specifically for getting high.
No. And when there is, that's cringe. That's what I think. That's my problem with 420 culture.
Yeah, or it's like, you're 18 years old.
Totally.
And it's like that.
At the frat. Okay, so then they go get back in the car and a raccoon crawls in the car with them and then bites Harold on the neck and spits blood all over him.
I feel like
and it's a puppet.
Raccoons are also stoner culture somehow.
I thought so too. They're definitely involved in stoner culture.
Yeah.
The same as wizards for some reason. So that happens and then this was my favorite part of the movie. They have to go to the hospital. Kumar's really trying to not take Harold to the hospital. And Harold's like, I have to go to the freaking hospital. Also, they're like not even high because they haven't been able to get weed in like an hour in the movie.
Usually in stoner movies, they're high the entire time.
I know, but that's why I thought this was more realistic. Yeah. Is they were like being annoyed that they couldn't resume their evening of being high on the couch.
Yeah.
Because of obstacles.
Yeah.
And they weren't like making anything worse for themselves, I think. They were just like having things thrown their way.
Well, it sounds less like police chase heavy or like dramatic.
It kind of gets there, but it's not dramatic.
Okay.
Which I thought, okay, so this is the part where I was like, fuck yes. They go to the hospital and Kumar didn't want to go because his dad's the head of surgery there. And his dad sees him and it's like, you ruined another hospital interview. I'm so mad at you, Kumar. And instead of having the talk with his father, Kumar just says, I'm so sorry, Dad. I'll never do that again. And they hug and it's like a fake tender moment. And then Harold's like, are you really not going to do that? And he was like, hell no. And I thought that was so funny. And then there's a nurse played by Ryan Reynolds before he's like a thing. Also, everyone's in this movie. Like it has every weird white guy like that or now super famous white guy with a tequila brand like that rather.
Interesting.
So Ryan Reynolds plays a nurse who then sees Kumar and he mistakes him for his dad or brother in like a racist way. And it's like, Dr. Kumar, you have to go in here. And then Kumar, a guy has multiple shrapnel wounds And Kumar, yes, he's been shot 3 times. And they dress Harold up as a nurse and they dress Kumar up as a doctor. And they're like, you have to do surgery. And Kumar's like, okay, but we have to anesthetize him with pot. Everyone's like, we can't do that. And then he says, okay, so I guess we just have to do this regular style. And then he performs full surgery on a guy, even though he's like not licensed to do that at all and is supposedly high. And it works and everyone's like, yes.
Wait, he's high at this point?
Like, probably like a little, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
okay,
that's not what it's about. I was like, that's me.
I think this is so Asian stoner culture.
I was like, I could do surgery when I'm high.
Okay, maybe you are an Asian stoner then.
I could definitely do surgery.
Because I think the point of being an Asian stoner is that you're like,
competent.
I'm a freaking genius, but I'm also fun. And that's why I smoke weed.
And is that but not
just
me
so
or
you know,
what?
I'm really smart.
Yeah. And that's me as well. That's what I'm all about. So I thought that was awesome. And then there is a lot in this movie of like homophobia in the style of like, all these gays are going to be on our dicks. And weirdly, they are.
Okay.
So Ryan Reynolds as the gay nurse after he sees Kumar do surgery is like, he's like, that was so hot.
Oh,
and then comes onto him and tries to like dab his head even though it's not sweaty and like hold his face and stuff.
Did you say they were both hot though?
They are.
I believe it.
But in a way where what's happening because of that is everyone is being gay towards them.
Okay.
And they keep being like, oh, everyone's gonna be gay towards us. And then they are and they're like, oh, everyone's gay towards us.
I think
I was like, what's going
my
on?
My theory is that all men are gay towards
and they secretly
each other.
like it.
Yeah,
but are like they think they're not allowed because of culture.
Yeah, they all love it and crave it and get it all the
time.
And
that's what's happening with straight men.
Yeah, that's together. What straight men are doing. That's what they're doing.
This movie felt like that.
Yeah.
So that happens. I thought that was a highlight. Then they end up driving in the woods for some reason.
Uh-huh.
And I can't remember the order of events here, but their car breaks down.
Uh-huh.
And then they are picked up by a tow truck driver who like literally has prosthetics all over him to be having oozing boils.
Okay.
And he looks like a troll or like a goblin or something.
Interesting.
And he is a redneck and loves Jesus and is also gay for them.
Okay.
So they hop in the car in the middle of nowhere, New Jersey, and this creepy guy named like Chainsaw or something picks him up.
Okay. I'm gonna throw something out there, which is crazy. I think these movies are racist towards white people.
Low-key!
And that's a part of stoner culture, is being racist towards white people.
And maybe that's why the one with Anna Faris, I was like, she sucks. Because ultimately, that's part of it, is you do need to be racist towards white people during these movies. That's interesting. This was a good one. So this made me laugh. So they get picked up by the redneck, Jesus-loving, disgusting tow truck driver. They have a whole conversation where they're like, look at his oozing boils. Can he hear us? And the guy's like, I can hear you. I don't even care. And then he takes them to his creepy house and tells them that they can go inside and have sex with his wife. And they're like, nice. And so they think they're like, the husband's gross, but maybe the wife will be hot. And Harold's like, no way. They go inside. She's hot. She's played by Malin Ackerman.
I don't know who
like
that is.
This blonde, she's the sister in 27 Dresses, cute as a button.
Okay, yeah.
And she's hot and she freaking wants them.
Okay.
And they're like, why are you married to this guy? And she's like, because he has a beautiful singing voice and a sensitive soul. Case closed.
Okay, slay.
Have sex with me. And they're like, what? And then they're gonna have sex with her, but the disgusting man who fixed their car came in and then does a fake thing where he's like pretends to be mad at them, but he just wants in.
Yeah. Oh.
And then they reject it. Foursomes are dead.
Foursomes are not.
Harold and Kumar is about foursomes are dead. Yeah.
I don't think any movie has a successfully performed foursome though.
That would have to be like what the movie's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even threesomes, I feel like. They don't actually usually happen in movies.
No, Challengers is as far as anyone ever got in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if they do happen, those people are going to be punished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Culture. Blah, blah. So I thought that was a good moment. And then they also eventually get brought in by like the cops to a police department. There's a black guy in the holding cell who's reading a book about nonviolent resistance and ends up being a college professor. And they basically do have a whole conversation about how John Cho got arrested. And then the black guy got arrested for like not doing anything. He says he got arrested for being black, and it's like someone called a crime on a black guy who did like a crime 2 towns over from his, and they came and got him from his bed type thing. And then the police come back, and Kumar's trying to break Harold out of the jail cell, and the cops rush in there and like grab the black guy. And there's a line where the one cop to the other's like, "No, you have to put your hands on his dick and his neck," and they let Harold and Kumar leave. Because they're like, that's what we're worried about. Woke moment. And then eventually they had their car stolen earlier. Forgot to tell you, by Neil Patrick Harris.
What?
Who's on ecstasy and is actually so straight.
Okay.
A relic of its time.
He's straight. Ryan Reynolds is gay.
He's straight. Actually, everyone else is gay.
Okay.
For Harold and Kumar specifically. Okay. Neil Patrick Harris doesn't give a fuck about them.
Okay.
And steals their car. And then there's a cheetah that's escaped from a local zoo. And then at this point, it really goes over the edge. We see Harold in like a video game mind sequence. He is doing things like overcoming his striving towards perfectionism and stuff, I would say, throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And they ride the cheetah that's escaped from the zoo back. Maybe they get all the way to White Castle on the cheetah. Ugh. No, because they paraglide after. I thought that was sick as well.
This sequence is kind of like a surrealist moment. Or is it
it's basically like you to think where the beginning of the movie is more grounded, and then I think it goes all the way over the like jumps the shark on being crazy, but in a way where I was like, okay, that's good.
Okay.
Like I think it escalated in a way that made sense for what else was going on.
Okay.
And I was like, a cheetah. And then when they paraglided, I was like, I have to do that. So
wow.
I've never thought that before, that I'm into paragliding. So they paraglide to White Castle, and Neil Patrick Harris is there and gives the car back and pays for their meal. And they order like 50 burgers, but it's like $40 to demonstrate the shittiness of White Castle, but it is a real White Castle. And they eat it, and they're like, John Cho's thing in this is that he wants to go to White Castle because he needs that feeling where a person gets exactly what they desire. And I think that is what being high is about, is being like satiated.
So what it's about.
And seeking being satiated.
I feel like every time you're high, there's like some very specific thing that you want so bad. Like when you're pregnant.
Yes.
A craving.
A snack. A soft blanket.
Yeah. And then once you get it, you're like, and then you can be like that for like an hour and a half, and then you want the next thing. That's
what this movie was about. Except the next thing Kumar decides is actually he's just gonna go to med school because he did a surgery last night and it was like no big deal.
Okay.
And then Harold works up the confidence from having a wild night to approach the girl in his building.
Yeah.
And they smooch and everything in the elevator.
Wow.
And then at the end, she's leaving to go to Amsterdam for 2 weeks so they can't go on a date. And Kumar's like, we have to follow her, bro. And Harold's like, I don't know, we just met and like kissed. And then the last line of the movie is, Kumar, you know what's legal in Amsterdam? And they both like make a Grinch style smile at each other. But they really didn't even smoke weed that much and are being like millennial, let's go to Amsterdam and like
but that's
rip
what
bongs.
I think that's what being high was like.
Was like in 2004.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about like getting high but not even that much, but then over identifying with it and then going to Amsterdam.
That's why I thought this movie, I was like, normal.
Yeah.
True
and normal. There's a cheetah and paragliding, but other than that. Do they the whole time, are they talking about White Castle and how they want to go there, or is it like
it's like an anchoring thing?
Okay.
And like Kumar keeps making speeches. Both the movies I watched are very much tying like weed culture in with like the American way and freedom and like repurposing that verbiage for like your meanings kind of thing. And so it's like definitely like meaningful when they actually get to White Castle. And everyone else in the movie is playing along and being like, you guys have to get there. Kind of situation.
Nice.
Yeah. That's basically how I felt at the end. It was like a kind of like, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, let's set the scene. It's 2017. You are pushing 30 years old and have just watched the finale of Pretty Little Liars. You're wearing your feathered earrings and your red coat, and you swore you'd never watch this show again.
Countless hours spent on message boards researching conspiracies. Time you will never get back.
Okay, so fast forward to 2023, and you call yourself a teen drama aficionado. Just finished a podcast dissecting every salacious episode of Gossip Girl, and you're looking for something to fill the void. Your listeners begged you for years, yes, years, to cover Pretty Little Liars on your podcast network, and for once, you're considering it. Hell, you're geared to do it, making you, well, a liar.
Liars. At last, We Are Liars podcast was born. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Liz.
And we're Total Betty Podcast Network, and we recap every single episode, spoiler-free, of Pretty Little Liars ad nauseum. Every exaggerated gasp, inappropriate relationship, and altogether fantasy this show holds.
Listen every Wednesday to We Are Liars as I, Liz, the veteran, and Michelle Newby talk spoiler-free about the wildness that is Pretty Little Liars.
Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you love stories? Stories with heart? Stories with heart and gossip? Then tune into Kadi Assad Ghost Detective with me, Kadi Assad, and my friends Julia Stone and Mark Solo. We talk to entertainers about a time they were ghosted and try to figure out why that happened. It's touching, funny, and always hilarious. So tune into Kadi Assad Ghost Detective wherever you find podcasts.
Okay, so do you want to do How High first?
Sure, I'll guess one.
Okay,
so I don't really have like full pitches for this one as much as I have 3 concepts.
Okay, I like
3
that.
brief pitches. It's like, hey, what if?
Okay.
First one. Hot air balloons.
Hot air balloons are pretty. They're
go up high.
Yeah.
I think everyone can say that. They can be like, we got so high, and then like old white people in Arizona can be like, in the air balloon, how high?
Yeah.
That's my one. That's the vibe. I think
And it would be funny
nicely.
if there were like 2 rappers up in a hot air balloon.
Yes, I think that's hilarious. I think anyone in a hot air balloon, freaking
Pretty
hilarious.
funny.
And I do know that there's this thing in either Nevada or Arizona that's like an annual hot air balloon festival. That is, I assume, like hippie white people.
Yeah, there's one in like Albuquerque, I think.
That's the one. I think I want them to be at that.
Okay.
As 2 rapper guys who can have like their tour bus broke down or something. And it's sort of, in this one, I was picturing sort of like it's 80 for Brady plus these 2 rapper guys at the hot air balloon fest.
Okay, slay.
And we are comparing like white culture and black culture and like smoking weed and doing stuff like eventually like putting a big weed nug in the flame part of the hot air balloon to where it's like the hot air balloon smokes weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gets high cartoon style or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like it melts and everyone's happy or something.
It's like fiberglass.
Yeah. And it's giving fiberglass for sure. It's a fiberglass hot air balloon. And I think we just explore sort of Arizona turquoise gem culture and like rap culture.
Okay, which are so related.
And I think both weed cultures, but 2 different sort of weed cultures.
Yeah.
And I think we're finding common ground, but also like making commentary.
Okay, love.
Yeah. And I think there can be like border patrol who's cops in a, we can just have like all the things for weed movies in this one.
That's so fun.
Thank
I love
you.
it.
My next one is, okay, yesterday when we were preparing for this podcast, I was like talking about what we're going to wear. And you said that you were going to wear a hoodie, a beanie, and like a baseball cap. And I was like, does that mean something? I was like, is she signaling me about the plot for How High? And then I came to, do you remember this book? I Googled it, Caps for Sale.
No.
From being a child.
No, but I
second.
can imagine where it's going.
So this book really connected with me at a young age. And it's about this guy in a sort of beautiful, silly art style who I think in a small Italian village has caps for sale.
Wow.
And the joke is, how do you carry all your freaking caps around a small Italian village? You have to wear them all on your head at once.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem he runs into, is he's walking around with so many hats on his head that they like hit into trees and fall down, and then he tries to pick them all up and then more fall down.
So then it begs the question, how high can these caps go?
And I think that's what the book's about. I thought it was so random that it was called Caps for Sale and not also How High ultimately. So in this one, my premise is that these 2 are doing that, but somewhere like the Venice Beach Boardwalk as like a summer job, and maybe they're also promoting their like show that night.
Okay.
And then they're doing stuff like wearing too many caps and then walking under the Ferris wheel, and some kid kicks off their hats and they're like, oh man.
But are they like rapper style like snapbacks, or are they
I think it could be a variety of the kind of hats that you would find at a boardwalk. So maybe like a jester one, maybe some beanies.
Big floppy sun hat.
Yes, all of them, just for jokes. And I think the version, this one's so goofy that I think it does have to have like a mystical element, like there's a wizard of the pier or something.
You love wizards this episode.
I do. That's part of 420 culture I'm aligned with. Wizardry. There's several aspects I see and relate to, and several I do not, but wizardry is one of them.
Yeah.
And I think this is like a Martin Lawrence movie from 2004 where he gets time traveled back to like King Arthur's court and jousts. I think they should joust.
Okay.
And in this one, somehow via the wizard, they get to do that.
Okay, so we're doing caps and boardwalks and medieval times.
But it all makes sense because of
weed
culture. Yeah.
And rappers. There's rappers in this too.
Yeah.
That is fun. Rappers, medieval times. Now that's a good idea.
That's what I'm trying to see. New series, Blank Medieval Times.
Blank Medieval Times.
To follow our trilogy of Blank Rumspringa.
Yeah.
Rapper Medieval Times.
Old people medieval times. Republican medieval times.
It's the medieval times, but on like the land baron side. Like,
yeah.
But okay, so that's my second pitch. Essentially, caps for sale for those who are in the know.
Okay.
And then the third pitch is taken from my real life. A classic thing in stand up is you say, "I'm so blank."
How blank are you?
That question sounds like
how high
are ya?
How high are ya?
How high are ya? And I think that could be like one of them does stand up in this.
Okay.
Or just that's the thing is they just walk around all day being like, I'm so high, and then everyone's like, how high are ya? And it can be like their grandma asks it disapprovingly, their girlfriend asks it, the cops ask it, everyone says that to them, and then different hijinks ensue every time. And maybe that's more of an art film.
Okay.
And those are my 3 ideas.
You love taking the title and running with it.
Yeah. I famously am a literal title girl. That's all I bring to this podcast. That's my strongest stance.
Okay. Well, actually, I think this movie's plot for once is actually maybe more ludicrous / interesting than what you would expect, actually.
Excellent. Let's go.
Yeah, it is not one of just the typical like quest guys go on a quest while high type movies.
The fact they don't even know each other is shocking to me.
Right.
I was shocked by that in Cheech Chong too.
Yeah.
They're
know
not
each other.
related.
No.
That's how I want my protagonists.
Okay, so we open on the 2 guys in this movie are Method Man and Redman.
Method Man is so charming.
Yeah. They're both
and
like hot and charming.
I don't know Redman, but okay.
Yeah, Redman's like the lesser one.
Okay,
but Method Man's a
shining.
Star. He's amazing.
He's a star.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Method Man plays this guy who's like a weed doctor. And
okay, what does that even mean? Like he gives out med cards?
He's a grower and a dealer.
Okay.
But he is so good at it that he has different strains that supposedly cure various afflictions. So you could like come to his door and be like, hey, I've been having headaches lately, and he'll give you like the headache strain.
Is this in like a chill way or like a sci-fi way? Like it's like really he's a doctor and they're working.
No, it's a chill way.
Okay,
it's a chill way. It's like he's
community
just
medicine.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like he's a stoner and like with all the negative associations with that, but like he's smart and like,
using it medicinally.
Yes, exactly.
Go
and
off.
He's a deserving gentleman.
Mm-hmm. A deserving gentleman.
Yeah. And
that's the funniest phrase.
He has a friend named Ivory, who's like a black nerd loser type.
Okay.
And he has like a unibrow.
Funny name. I was gonna picture that it was like a Jamie King Malibu's Most Wanted like white boy.
No,
who uses a black scent. Okay.
No,
but that
is funny. Yes, it's a black nerd. And he's like kind of a loser, but this guy's like nice to him because he's a saint. He's a
generous.
Saint, he's a weed doctor.
He's a deserving gentleman.
Yes.
The ultimate thing you can be, a DG, a deserving gentleman.
Well, I just feel like the people in stoner movies usually aren't. I guess Harold is in Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
He's a deserving gentleman.
And Kumar is like a suave gentle like. You're kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I guess Kumar's...
He's the rascal
He's
type.
working on being a deserving gentleman, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
Anna Faris is not a deserving gentleman. That was my takeaway of the week. Very good comedic actress, not deserving gentleman. Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, so Ivory... he Method Man like helps him out with like a girl thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Ivory's like, thanks man, I owe you. And just know that even if I get hit by a truck, I owe you. And even if somehow my whole head catches on fire and then I fall out a window and die, I'm still gonna be your guy. I'll do anything for you.
Funny monologue.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then of
also,
course,
quick to you, why in real life can't you go to someone to be like your love guru and they just handle it for you?
because that is specifically a thing from like 90s and early 2000s comedies that we
can't access anymore culturally. We can't have our friend help us with our
glow up.
Yeah.
For real. People aren't helping each other glow up. It's because
they're not connecting. People look to TikTok for an impersonal glow up lesson.
I know. And I also think it's like the we're not allowed to bully people thing.
And that's part of
you're not allowed to tell people their real issues anymore.
That makes sense.
You can't be like, do your eyebrows, girl, and how can you out there.
How can you change and grow if you can't
be bullied?
Call out the thing. Yeah. I hear you. Okay, but nice. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What a generous, deserving gentleman.
He is a generous, deserving gentleman. So Ivory, of course, then immediately he's smoking a blunt and his new dreads that he got to impress this girl catch on fire and his whole head catches on fire and then he stumbles and falls out the window and dies.
Is it like Final Destination?
No, but it's just it's just comedic. It's hilarious.
I do like that all these movies have joke dying. That's fun. Yeah,
and it's always like a stupid stoner death that they like
goofball.
Yeah, goofball.
I do think 420 Spirit is about being at peace with death in the cycle of life. Yeah, and I would argue that because of that, Coco is a stoner movie.
I would love to watch that while high.
That dog. Come on.
The colors.
Come on. Making amends with your grandpa.
I would cry so much if I watched that high.
Exactly. I think I cried so much when I watched that. I don't remember if I was high or not.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
Okay. Anyway, so Method Man is like heartbroken at his friend's death or whatever, or like not really heartbroken.
But you have to be when a guy who you just helped glow up dies.
Yeah.
It's like you did that for nothing.
Yeah. He's kind of like, cheers to my bro.
Yeah.
So
pour one out.
He gets some of Ivory's cremated ashes and he uses it as fertilizer for one of his
Is he gonna smoke the ashes?
Yes.
Okay.
He smokes, well, he doesn't smoke the ashes. He smokes
the ashes, let the weed grow, which is a little more romantic and sort of fairy tale.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he basically has Ivory made into weed.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you also forgot to mention he is just like how Cal Penn's supposed to go to med school. He has to take his SATs, but in this they call them the THCs.
Ha ha.
And he looks too old to be doing this.
That's funny too in that stoner culture.
Yeah,
to be in high school but you're like 45 years old.
Yeah. But
I rock with that aspect.
Yeah. But he's supposed to take the test and everyone's like, you gotta work hard, dude, because you're actually smart and stuff. But he's like, I don't give a shit. But he's supposed to take the test soon. But then meanwhile in the parking lot of the place they're taking the THCs is Redman in his car. Okay. And he's trying to smoke up before the test, but he only has a blunt and he doesn't have weed. And then in pulls Method Man in the next car over and then they have like a silent conversation that leads to them rolling down their windows. And then Redman's like, oh, blunt, no weed. And then Method Man's like, weed, no blunt. And then they become best friends.
Men connecting. Yeah. Men flirting. Straight men flirting in public. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So then Method Man gives him the weed to light up the blunt, but the weed that they smoke is the friend Ivory's.
Dead weed.
He's dead weed.
His spiritual weed.
Yes. So they smoke up and then suddenly they both see the ghost of Ivory.
Is it like Christmas past?
Kind of. And then Ivory's like, hey man, I told you I had your back and and I know you're taking this test, so just ask me for help answers. And I will ask all these dead people
funny
that I can like hang out with because I'm in heaven or whatever.
Are we getting a cameo from like the guy who got the apple dropped on his head?
No, but there is
Isaac Newton.
No, I think if this was a better movie, we would have seen all of these people.
That's so funny.
But clearly they didn't have the budget for it, so you really just see Ivory and then at the end Ben Franklin. But
did they do the joke about Ben Franklin having black kids?
No, but they do the joke about him being a stoner.
Interesting. More aligned with Ben Franklin but he has the look, if that makes sense. It's the little glasses, it's the hair but bald.
Yeah. He loves black women.
Yeah, problematically.
But anyway, so then they take the THCs. They both get perfect scores.
This is what I want to see in my weed movies. Is being able to do surgery and you get perfect scores and life is like going so well.
I know. Yeah. So they get perfect scores. Meanwhile, we cut to the board of admissions at Harvard University. A bunch of white guys, except there's also one black guy at Harvard who is the antagonist, of course.
That's funny.
Yeah. He's like the black dean who like hates them.
That's very funny.
Yeah. But anyway,
these movies are also about being like, we hate white people, but also everyone hates me.
Yeah. but ultimately,
and I hate my parents.
Ultimately, it's just everyone needs to be cool like me
and chill.
Yeah, and chill. Basically, everyone needs to smoke weed is what these movies are about.
Yeah.
So
cheers.
Cheers to that. But yeah, so they get a perfect score, and the board at Harvard is like, we need diversity. And the whole thing is like, it's supposed to be like what do you call it? Like a takedown of, I think it's a takedown of like white liberal like anti-racism actually.
Okay.
Because like all the white people in this are like trying to not be racist, but like they get made fun of for the way that they're trying to not be racist, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
So it's kind of like
and then the black guy's antagonizing them
a little bit.
So is it like sort of like where you want to be the only one?
Oh,
like in hoping
guy.
Other people like you fail? Like is like that the motive? Like what are we commenting on?
I think he's mostly just like a stuck-up nerd type.
They're always the problem.
Yeah. Like
I agree with that part of weed culture.
Like the Ferris Bueller principle or whatever.
Stuck up nerds need to chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so they decide they need more like black people at Harvard. And then they hear about these two who got perfect scores on the THCs. And they these two have to field like a bunch of offers from like different companies and like different schools.
So
and
funny.
Stuff.
Do we get to see all those?
Yes,
okay,
we do.
Great.
And it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then the Harvard guy is like, come to Harvard, there's babes here.
Nice.
So then they go to Harvard. And yeah,
that's what's up in these movies, is just going where babes are.
Yeah.
And I respect that part of weed culture.
But also this movie felt a little Legally Blonde too.
I was feeling that throughout, because that's who I was thinking of about helping your friend glow up, is when Elle Woods is like, that guy just broke my heart, to the goofy guy in law school. I was like, same vibe.
But this actually came out before Legally Blonde. This was from 2001. So this invented Legally Blonde. Understood. Understood. That's a handshake between white women and black guys. Go off. So as usual, and I just feel like they'd meet the people that you expect them to meet at Harvard. There's like the stuck up white guy that is like rich and they hate
preps.
him. Yeah. Preps and dorks.
Okay, preps are so the enemy in these movies too.
Yeah. And then there's the dorks that hate them because they're smoking weed all the time instead of like studying.
Freaking dorks.
Yeah, freaking dorks.
Okay, I'm so on their side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then Redman joins the crew team, just to take down the preppy white guy because he hates him.
Yeah, cool.
And of course he's gonna do amazing thanks to weed and his special
That
skills.
is what I want to see in these movies too, is peak athleticism and feats of great wonder. Love.
And meanwhile, Method Man gets really into botany, and of course he's a prodigy at botany.
Yes,
because
that's how you grow weed.
Exactly. He's a botany genius.
Yeah.
And they both have their little love interests. One of them obviously wants to date the prep white guy's black girlfriend, and then
got it.
And then the other one wants
that's a good character.
The other one, it's hilarious, has like a whole romantic subplot with like this black girl at school who like has a whole team of bodyguards because her dad is like the vice president of the United States.
That's very funny as well. Okay, this movie sounds like they're just slaying in it. There hasn't
actually,
even been peak conflict. I'm pleased by this.
It's fun.
Okay.
So then, so the main conflict really is that this dean is out to get them, the black dean, and he's like, your GPA can't fall below a 2.0.
Okay.
So they have to use all this weed, like ivory weed. They've been smoking him up to give him
the answers to
everything.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. That could be a whole movie in itself, is that you have to talk to ghosts for tests.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what this movie is, but it's also doing other things. And then by the end, it's like, okay, what's even going on? But
yeah,
that's how all of these kind of go.
Totally.
But
this one does sound better so far.
It is better. Than
like the general.
I mostly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then I'm just gonna skip a bunch of details because there's a lot. But basically, what happens is the number one dork that they know, who's just the worst. He's like mad at them for some reason, and then he finds their their weed stash, which of course includes the ivory plant, which doesn't have that much weed left.
Fuck.
And then he smokes up the rest of the ivory weed. And because of that, he can see ivory, but also he's like, smoking weed's awesome.
Oh.
And then the guys were like, wait, how are we going to pass our finals if like we don't have any more like ghost weed left?
Right.
So then they're like, wait a second. He was just talking to all these like old dead people. What if we dig up the remains of old dead people and then smoke their ashes?
Okay.
So then that's ultimately...
What a fun take on the weed's gone. We have to get more.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
yeah, exactly. So they get Ben Franklin's
It does a great Ben Griffin's grave. That's funny. Yeah.
And a lot more happens, but essentially there's a alumni group event thing, and everyone obviously ends up getting high, and
hell yeah.
And Ben Franklin apparently it's a presentation on all his artifacts, and you find out he had a giant bong because he was a stoner. So basically then the Black Dean breaks bad and starts attacking them with a freaking axe, and then
totally
blah blah.
That is what it feels like when you're being persecuted. When you're high.
But they get to stay at Harvard, and everyone gets high, and they're awesome. They're slaying.
They're awesome.
They're slaying.
That's the kind of weed movie I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Wait, I should have watched that one. I was getting miffed.
No, it put me in good spirits for sure.
Yeah.
It does have a lot of like old school sexism and problematic elements that you would expect.
I hear that. Yeah.
But a good time.
Good narrative. How about that?
Yeah.
How
Some
about a strong
original
narrative?
ideas.
Yeah. And like having fun with it.
Yeah.
That seems important.
And I think it was good representation of like Black stoner culture.
Yeah. It sounds smart.
Yeah. You know what? It was.
Go off.
It was smart.
Good. Guess what freaking wasn't? Smiley Face.
Okay. Well, I don't have a lot for this one.
Just hit me.
Okay. Well, I've been grappling, as you have, with like how female stoner culture is separate from like male stoner culture, and I think with women it's like it's more like self-medicating and like get through the day vibes. So I feel like just the way that this is marketed, I almost think it's like more extreme than that, and maybe she like just smokes or takes like a magic cosmic brownie or something. And I think her deal is gonna be that like her ex-boyfriend's marrying someone and she has to go to the wedding, like typical like rom-com stakes, but she has to get through like a fraught situation by being like way too stoned.
Okay.
And yeah,
that could be a movie. It's like High Bridesmaids.
Yeah,
or something.
Hidesmaids. Hidesmaids.
That's pretty good too. Any other ideas though? That was pretty good summary. Isla Fisher could star in it.
Yeah, I guess Anna Faris is a different type, but I do feel like she's still like a kind of sad sack. To me, she's giving sad sack.
Okay.
So I kind of want it to be like just a. Because also the other ones being pairs, I feel like are more like hijinks and just comedic, like whatever. I think she's gonna be like the butt of the joke in this one.
Okay.
Like she's like the loser character.
I think it's like both. Kind of like it is hijinks, but definitely I was very cognizant of the fact that like she stands alone.
Yeah.
And that I felt like she needed a friend.
She doesn't have one the whole time?
No. Do you want me to just get into it?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Wait, one more.
Yeah, keep going.
I think she should have like a pet.
Okay, what kind?
I was thinking a cat.
Okay, that's a good like stoner pet.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know? Oh, go ahead.
I guess I just can't like handle a woman alone.
Right.
Dealing with, yeah.
She needs a weird little guy with her.
Yeah, exactly.
No, totally. I think this movie, I was like mad because it's like a woman alone can't handle herself. Is what I felt like about it. Also, speaking of pets and Anna Faris, do you know that after Anna Faris and Chris Pratt divorced, they just let their chihuahua loose in West Hollywood?
What?
And someone like found their stray dog and it still had tags that were like Chris Pratt and Anna Faris's chihuahua. And then the press came to their door. The press came knocking because that's the top white woman crime. And Anna Faris said that he just got lost in the shuffle or something.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
I think Anna Faris is a good comedic actress, and I wish we had more roles like that for her, like during her peak time as that. But I just think the being married to Chris Pratt thing and him being so weird, I'm sussed out a little.
Whose dog do you think it was out of the two of them?
I don't know. I mean, they definitely did go to her for the quote because she doesn't live on like a scary Easter everyday mansion like ranch, and because she's the woman.
Yes.
So I do feel like they were being like,
it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was like that in their house, even if it didn't start that way.
Exactly.
Because of what we know about Chris Pratt, who every Easter drags a full size cross. What does that mean? How tall was Jesus in his cross? Up a hill in his yard.
He's a crazy man.
He's a crazy guy. But also, I kind of don't think he really does it every year. I'm accusing him of that. I'm like, that seems like a little much liar. I bet he didn't. I bet this year he didn't do it.
I feel like he moves the goalposts as he needs to on it. Like I could imagine him trying to do it every year, but sometimes it's more in a symbolic manner.
Like he looks at it in the garage,
or he lifts it a little, or like he has like his various servants drag it halfway up the hill for him, and then he like
does a photo op board.
Yeah, or just like I think he needs to have its moment with it.
Oh, that he communes with it. That's probably what it's really about. Yeah. I think he probably did it one time on like a really weird day, and then told a news outlet like, "Yeah, every Easter, I hit that cross up the hill." Like he was like, I did it once and this is my life.
Well, okay. I feel like he tries to be less Christian in front of the news. Because every tidbit that comes out about his Christianity is so crazy. Yeah. I think he's actually more crazy than we even know.
Chris Pratt, come on the pod. Come sit right here where the cat cactus is. Okay, so Smiley Face is also, interestingly, a Greg Araki film. And he is this cool, hot, old director guy who is famous for, quote, new queer cinema. That's all about, like, his biggest movie is called, I forgot the name, but it's Rose McGowan and these two guys with earrings doing, like, a Challengers, but they ride across the country and, like, shoot people.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. And it's, like, shot cool and fun and, like, sound effects. And, like, it felt like in between like a Charlie's Angels movie and a Lynch thing. Okay. Like kind of stuff.
That's
and you could see that in this movie, even though I was like, oh, this isn't like his main type of movie. So that was interesting. Okay. It like felt a little high end in that way. But that being said, and I think Greg Araki's Asian, so maybe this is about how stoner culture is being racist to white people. Anna Faris in this movie was the dumbest person I've ever seen in my life. Okay. It was like if a wet rag was the star of a movie. Okay. And just being slopped around trying to get stuff done. Which I think could be a Pixar movie.
But that's also how
Don't take that.
Oh, the wet rag. Just
with eyes, it's a freaking wet rag and it's trying to get through the day.
That sounds too depressing.
Maybe it could be one of those short ones because those are always sad.
That's true.
I pitched you another one of these the other day, and I tried to pitch a long Pixar, and you said that it could only be a short one. And I was like, oh.
Sorry, I didn't mean that to be hurtful.
I don't remember what my pitch the other day was.
Sometimes I think brevity is the soul of wit. So.
Snapping for that.
Yeah.
Brevity is the freaking soul of wit.
Right.
Not on this pod.
Not on this pod. Not on this ep.
Not on this ep. Not on this ep.
Yeah.
Big things
we
coming.
We don't identify it as this.
Short things coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we open the day. Anna Faris is a blonde lady in LA who dresses enough like me that I was like, oh God.
It's so hard watching a movie about someone who kind of looks like you.
And I think it's like supposed to be in your space, but I was like, the way I felt about the Lil Wayne video earlier, I was like, oh, I'm good actually. Oh. After I watched this fool.
I can't believe you're giving up on weed after all these examples of you being awesome actually.
I'll pray about it. It's Easter. A day for stopping stuff and then restarting again.
Yes.
So.
With no explanation needed. Stopping for 3 days.
Tolerance break. Has anyone ever said that? I think that was the soul of wit, actually.
Tolerance break.
Yeah, Jesus took a tolerance break from life. Wow. They should say that in one of the Rumspringa trilogy.
Jesus took a tolerance break from life.
Yeah. So Anna Faris, I lost it. What was I even talking about? Okay. Yes, it opened and I was like, enough. I was worried.
Okay.
But she's set in like 2007 and she is 30 in this movie.
Okay.
And I think that also is killing me because I'm now 30 in this movie.
In this movie of your life?
Yeah. Yeah, in this movie. What I call this movie of my life. I think my movies actually have to be called Sam's House, like Big Mama's House.
Okay.
It's about what I'm doing at my house.
Or just Sam, but like in a threatening horror font.
You think it's scary? I think sometimes it's threatening and other times it's like nice. Sam! Sam, whatever. Okay, nothing happens in this movie and that's why I'm continuing to lose it, but there was like a lot of things that I wanted to like call out.
Okay.
So essentially she's a 30-year-old failing actress in Los Angeles. There's a narrator at the beginning that opens on her on a close-up shot in a Ferris wheel.
Oh, A Ferris wheel.
I know. What? I don't even think you're supposed to think that. Isn't that crazy? You're not even supposed to think on a Ferris wheel during this.
Yeah.
So first there's a monologue outside of her that's like talking about what she's doing in a way that's like very like, on a Ferris sat on the Ferris wheel and felt the breeze in her face. And then she talks back to me and is like, what? And they go back and forth, but they're both voices inside her. So then it goes from one narrator that's like this like guy who's giving wizard to then her narration.
Okay, but that's how it feels when I'm high.
I thought this was like accurate.
Yeah.
I'll say that about it. But for a movie, it was like too long. And in this one, I thought the jokes were not hitting. Multiple times in Harold and Kumar, something would happen. They went to Newark. I left this part out.
Oh, hell yeah.
And they were like, are we allowed to be here? Is Newark safe? I don't know anything about what's going on in Newark. I assumed it was kind of racist. But then they were like, is Newark safe? And then they look out their car window and they see a guy who's an Asian guy, an East Asian guy and a South Asian guy. And they say, that looks like the lame version of us. And then like 10 guys run out and beat them up with baseball bats. And they're like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
But they had jokes that I was like, haha.
Yeah.
This one, very little haha for me. So she is on this Ferris wheel. How did she get here? It starts like that.
Ugh.
You're never gonna guess how I got here.
It's not that exciting to be on a Ferris wheel.
No. Sorry. No. You couldn't even see how high it was because it was a close shot. So then we cut back to the beginning of the day. She needs to pay her rent.
Mm-hmm.
That's like way overdue, and her roommate pays it for her. She needs to go to a audition for acting. And the first thing she's doing in the morning, which I did think this was representative of also the real high experience, was playing like Zoo Tycoon on her laptop on a couch.
Okay, that's actually quite normal to do while you're
Quite
high.
normal. I thought that as well.
It's actually quite in the realm of appropriate behavior.
I was on board for this.
Yeah.
I was on board for this part. So she does that, and then she smokes the last of her weed and gets really hungry, even though it's like breakfast time.
Yeah.
And she goes in the fridge, and there's a bunch of cupcakes on a tray that her weird roommate is saving for his sci-fi convention this weekend.
Okay.
Her roommate, she lives in like one of those LA all white like clapboard apartments with Danny Masterson. Ugh. I know, but funny. Okay. He was giving in this movie. He plays her just creepy, intense roommate who like hates her. And he like there's a bunch of shots that are like zooming in on him with scary music and stuff, and that was also I thought good. So I thought he's a funny character that she lives with, this creepy guy she hates.
Okay, and who hates her?
And who hates her back. And she eats all of these cupcakes without realizing they're weed cupcakes because he doesn't do that, but he's gonna act out this weekend. So he's like extra mad. And then he gave her money to pay the bill. Instead, she's like, I have to buy more weed to replace his cupcakes. He's gonna be so mad at me. So she calls up her weed dealer, who is played by Adam Brody with dreads and is a Republican. Isn't that funny too?
That is so interesting.
Maybe the thing is it wasn't like out loud haha stuff, but there was like stuff where I was like, huh.
And it like so of the era.
Yes. It was like this movie had all those kind of guys in it too.
Yeah.
All these guys love these movies. Because they smoke weed.
Of course.
But
they're like whatever they are is like similar to the Seth Rogen and James Franco, like that group.
That ilk. Yeah.
That ilk.
Yeah.
But they're like a side one to that.
Yes, they didn't make it their brand.
Yeah.
So we like don't know about but Adam Brody in it is I thought pretty funny. He comes over and gives a monologue about how drug dealing is like trickle down Reaganomics.
Okay.
And then we learn that Anna Faris is an economics major in college. And so a lot of this movie also is about like
economics.
Yes. And
that's funny. That's like how the how high was about botany actually.
Science is weed culture.
Yeah.
And that's why they're trying to hold science back. Yeah, I said it. Okay, so Adam Brody tells her that she owes Adam Brody like $1,000. Okay. And he takes all the money for the roommate's like electric bill or whatever. But he's like, Anna Faris, if you don't pay me today at the freaking, I don't remember if it was called a Hemp Fest or not, but it might have literally been called a Hemp Fest, which had me, I was out.
It is not called a Hemp Fest.
That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure it was called Hemp Fest, and I was like, lame, because of that guy from my past. So she's under threat, and if she doesn't pay him, he's going to take all her furniture.
Oh.
And so she is like, I have to make money and then get to the Hemp Fest, but I also have to go to my audition. And the first thing she does is try to bake new weed cupcakes and then can't even do that. So it's like the apartment on fire vibes. And then there's a moment where I saw myself where the apartment's all smoking, the fire alarm won't stop going off. and she does just beat the fire alarm until it no longer works. And
that is so you.
No, I in this very house, you the other day were like, was there a fire alarm in like the kitchen? And I was like, oh, I unscrewed it from the base so that you would never even know it was there. Because I couldn't make it turn off one day after I burned something.
That's weed culture.
That's weed culture. But that's also just me trying to cook period culture. Is you have to fight the fire alarm. But anyway, saw myself there and was like, And then she drops her cell phone, which is a big plastic cell phone, into the weed butter that she's burnt, so it also like catches on fire. So she doesn't have a cell phone anymore.
This is sounding stupid.
Her vibes are like rolling around on the floor and being like, "Ah!" And she is good at doing that in a funny way. But I was like, the stakes were high enough that I was like pissed off at her.
Yeah.
And I feel like she wasn't trying to play to the top of her intelligence. Like she wasn't doing her best effort.
Yeah.
In this scenario.
That's like, because that's what makes Broad City like better than that.
They try hard. They're like
trying.
Clowns.
Yes.
Yeah. She was kind of like sad, I think. But I think the movie almost didn't treat her as if she was sad. So it was like weird.
Well, that's also, I feel like female stoner is like shaking hands with depression, actually.
If you don't have a friend,
yeah,
she needs a friend.
She needs yes.
This is so a real LA experience you can have as a woman, though, if you're not careful, where it's just you and all of the weirdest men in the world are who you know.
Yeah,
and I think that's what this movie's about.
Yeah, you need a matching set to survive,
to be safe.
Yes.
Yeah, you need from all the weird guys running around out here.
Platonic half. That's
Yes, she does not have that, and all the weird guys she knew, I was like, I knew him. So that was accurate too. I guess this movie was like, that's funny. Okay. But I wasn't like, haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other real stuff, she gets a call that this is why she drops her phone in the butter from her existing boyfriend that we never see, who breaks up with her for being a freaking loser.
Oh.
I thought that was funny. And so then she goes to a casting audition, and then at the audition, she brings with her, she has a secret in her like childhood dance. What's the ballerina box called that sings?
Oh, the music
box.
A music box.
Something that a deserving gentlewoman would own.
Yes.
And yet she has a secret bag of government issued marijuana, which I don't know how you get it in this era or what that means.
What does it mean?
Everyone's
does it mean
like,
better?
this is the good stuff. Yes.
That's crazy that back then that was the better stuff.
Well, I guess that just means legal though. And that is how it became the better stuff.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's not like cut with anything.
Yeah. I don't know. So she's gonna go try to sell that at the Hemp Fest and then pay off Adam Brody. But first she has to go to our audition.
Can she really get $1,000 for that back then?
She's shooting for like $300 to pay the bill for the roommate, I think. Okay. I think it's amorphous.
Okay.
And they are acting like it's $1,000, kind of.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess weed was more expensive back then.
And illegal. It's because of the illegal. Yeah. It's the illegality. So then she goes to the casting office where the casting director is Jane Lynch, which I thought was funny. And she's very high there and tries to give all these ladies in the casting office that she tries to get them to buy the weed from her, like her fellow actresses, and they're like mortified.
So she's already, because she's on the brownies.
Yeah. She's like the highest she's ever been.
Okay.
Is the idea. But I still think it wasn't like pushing in that direction hard enough where things weren't like trippy, and then she wasn't trying as hard as I wanted her to.
Yeah.
So she gets to this audition. There's all these prim actresses around her. She tries to sell them weed, and they're like, no, oh my God. Everyone in this movie is being disgusted by her, too.
Okay.
And they're being like, weed, that's insane.
Which I think is funny. Was it like that in LA at that time?
I don't know. But Anna Faris is acting in a way where you're like, yeah.
Okay.
I would act like that to her, too, even if I did want to buy it. Like, I was like, this girl. Like, everyone's being like, this girl is not together.
Right.
So then she goes in the casting office, and I did think this was also real to me. She has 2 deliveries of a line for like a commercial for like, I don't know, rice or something. And the first time she does it really proud and excited and like huge. Okay. In a way that's like, you can't do that. She's like, I love rice. And Jane Lynch is like, do it like a normal person.
Yeah.
And then when she does like a normal person, she does it like this, like a robot. And I was like, that's my real acting experience. That's why I'm a failed actress as well.
That's your acting experience, or is it just your high acting experience?
No, it's my period acting experience where I cannot, because we talked about this the other day. Yeah. I can't play myself being like normal.
It's just hard to read a line like it's
a normal
not
person,
a line, and it's just for coming from your mouth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I can be like, "Hey, kids," or I can be like, "Hello," and that's it. So that made me reflect as
I think
well.
that's most people, actually.
Yeah, and that's why, guess what? Most people,
Can't
we
act.
aren't actors. Accept it, guys.
Yeah.
Accept it. I did. I did this week. So then that happens, and she tries to sell the weed to Jane Lynch, and Jane Lynch like freaks out.
Okay.
So everyone's being so square to her.
Okay.
Which I also was like, is it like that?
I mean, maybe.
Who's to say? So she then starts calling.
Casting people aren't cool, I guess.
Chill out, dork.
Yeah.
It's back to that. She then starts calling various old acquaintances for money just to show that she's like a fuck. And no one will give it to her because they've already given her too much money.
Wow.
Yes.
So
And
embarrassing to be a woman alone in that position.
she's also only living off, she's had one commercial ever for like a German soda. And then her parents send her checks sometimes.
Okay.
So she's like really not trying.
That's classic LA experience.
Classic LA experience. So then she eventually has to call, I thought this was the funniest thing in the movie and the most true to form. She has to call her roommate who hates her's best friend, whose name is Brevin Anderson.
That's such a real name.
I know. And he's played by Jim from The Office.
Oh, Krasinski.
With gelled down hair
JK's in
and
this?
big glasses as like a kind of Ted Bundy like nerd. Or not Ted Bundy, like what's the other serial killer? Evan Peters.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes. He's stylized as Jeffrey Dahmer and he's the roommate who hates her's best friend.
Okay.
And he comes over to their house where she's like asleep on the couch and drooling and like playing Animal Crossing and like loves her.
Ew.
So real though.
I'm so grossed out by John Krasinski, period, and him in Jeffrey Dahmer glasses. Oh.
He was good in this role, I thought. Like, I
Okay.
thought he was funny.
Is he supposed to be like creepy?
Yeah, it's kind of a joke, like that he sucks but he doesn't suck as bad as her roommate. And
Okay.
he's like the one who will love her right.
Oh.
A problem that everyone's encountering. Okay, that you're always telling me whenever I talk about someone who I'm like, this is who has a crush on me, but I don't have a crush on them. And you're like, they would love you right, but they're also a murderer. And that's sort of the problem.
I don't say the
talking
murderer
about.
part actually.
No,
I
but
just
I
say
say
the
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a conversation.
Wow.
It's a conversation. So he's kind of coded like that. And she asked him, he's had a crush on her for a while, but she won't go out with him. And so she calls him up and is like, hey, let's hang out and go to the Hemp Fest and have an awesome day. And
She's really shooting her shots while she's this high.
well, she's just trying to use him.
Okay.
Because when you're a female loser,
Yeah.
you have to try to harness whoever has a crush on you for help.
Yeah.
But you gotta put yourself
So
in that
you
position.
need a charioteer because you're high.
This is why she needs a friend, though. A platonic friend.
A platonic charioteer, but they're probably going to be high too.
Yeah. And in these movies, that's a freaking mess. No one can act right. So then she goes to a dental appointment with Brevin. And she just gets, this was real for me too, she gets so bored in the waiting room. And I thought the demonstration of what it feels like when you're so bored, it was all like grating sounds and like looking too close at a wood paneled wall and like freaking out. I was like, that's real. That's real. So she waits for him to come out and she basically like yells at him for having a dentist appointment and he takes it. Because he loves her.
Wow, he is the perfect boyfriend.
I know. And then that was like weirdly more of the movie than I thought it would be too.
Was it her getting a boyfriend?
Or no, just him being like the implied perfect boyfriend in this scenario.
Okay.
But it doesn't so get addressed. We'll get there. So then they leave and Jane drives by a house and she's in the car. Jane's her name. Mary Jane style.
Okay.
That's funny.
It's like how Chong is called Man Stoner.
Yeah. And some incredible weed culture names. But she's like, I've been in that house before. And it's her economics professor that she used to sleep with's house.
Oh.
But she doesn't know whose house it is. And Jim gets pulled over by the cops. And she freaks out talking to the cop. Pretty funny in this scene too.
Okay.
And then she runs away from the cop into this house.
Into her ex-lover / ex-professor.
Well, it's the house of her ex-professor's mom. She figures out. And she's there. And she thinks that Anna Faris is the professor's TA. Coming to get the first edition of the Communist Manifesto.
Okay, great.
And
that is also stoner culture as the Communist Manifesto.
It is. And talking about like economics in the American way that happens in this too.
So stoner culture.
This was in a weird way where in this one, she talks about the Marxist professor and Jim's like, did you like have a thing with him? And she's like, well, yeah, I guess. And he's like, was it like love? And she was like, no, I could never love him. He's a Marxist. But you don't know if that's because she's like a Maoist or if because she's like a trickle-down Republican.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of real in LA too.
Right.
In white woman world.
Well, everyone will always hate Marxism, I guess. But
I guess.
wait, this is reminding me of, do you remember when we had that 420 party last year? And there were two individuals after we all got like super high. There were two people sitting on the couch in our living room and talking about like China and the trade deficit and shit that was so boring and bad that like everyone just got chased out of the house and was standing in the backyard just to be away from that conversation.
No, I literally went to bed at like 10:30 because of that. And that's actually the 420 experience.
That's the 420 experience, is you accidentally start talking about like economic theory.
Or someone else does.
Yeah, someone else does and you hate it.
And you're subjected.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you're like, I have to go to bed. Where's the movie about that? I have to go to bed. So then she goes and takes the edition of the Communist Manifesto from the mom because she's like, I could sell this for a bunch of money.
Ugh.
She learns it's like worth $800K on eBay or something.
Okay.
So then she needs a ride to Venice Beach and just sees a truck pointing in the direction that she believes to be west and gets in the back of it. But it's a truck to a meat packing plant in El Monte. Which is kind of funny.
I think I could be getting into those hijinks if I was a man and without fear.
She's without fear.
Okay.
But also like can't get out of anything. Crazy girl. Mm-hmm. So she goes to the truck opens when she gets to her destination. She's zonked in the back like sleep drooling. Luckily though, who catches her? Who are these factory workers? Danny Trejo and John Cho.
John Cho.
And this time he has kind of like long windswept hair.
Oh, interesting. Two famous stoners.
Two famous stoners. One from a movie that we even discussed on this very podcast. So this is his culture apparently.
Okay.
So they find her and John Cho offers when he's off of work to drive her to Venice.
Okay.
So they get stuck in traffic in Los Angeles and she's incredibly high. And then there's like a fantasy scene of them like being like, it's always been you.
John Cho
and like hooking up in the car. But they don't.
But they don't.
Yes. They like both think about it and he's like, no. And she's like, I have business to handle. You can't, I don't have time for this. So then she runs out of the car.
Okay.
Because she's like, I can't sit here in traffic with these vibes. And is picked up by like a baddie on a motorcycle that's pink and has a pink motorcycle jacket. And she's kind of like an anime girl who like doesn't speak except for like, get on.
What?
And then Anna Faris gets on. And then she drives her the rest of the way to Venice. The Hemp Fest is already ended. And Anna Faris decides to get on the freaking Ferris wheel.
Alone?
She's a woman alone. She has to gaze and think.
And she couldn't even make it to the fest on time?
She couldn't even make it to the fest. It's like 8 p.m. This is taken all day.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like usually the stoners get to go to the place they wanted to go to.
And it's an incredible heavenly sort of moment.
Yeah.
No, not in this one. So she's now being pursued by Brevin Anderson, aka Jim, like a cop, and the Marxist professor and his mom. And they all follow her to the Venice boardwalk. And then the narrator cuts back in when she's back on the Ferris wheel. And is like, she realized that she wanted to be an entity for peace and good in the universe. She was going to return the book and give herself up. And then she stands up and is like, yeah! And then knocks the book into the wind and all the pages fly in the water.
That's kind of funny.
It was, yeah. But that was the vibe. Is I didn't laugh aloud. I said, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like throughout the movie, I was like, that's kind of funny. But that was as much as it got me.
Maybe you're supposed to be
more
on
broad.
Like, maybe I wish movies would tell you exactly what strain of weed you're supposed to be on when you watch it.
I was going to say, I think movies at this point should just tell you what your emotional response is supposed to be. And you try to conjure that in yourself during it. Yeah. Like how the Netflix things like TV for smoking, nudity, whatever, that should be like TV. You're going to be like, that's funny.
We've already talked about this.
Yeah, you need to know the vibes rating of what you're going to watch.
And no, but like you also like remember when we talked about having like title cards or whatever, but with like whatever you're supposed to be thinking and feeling at this very moment, or like this part's boring, you can go pee now. And then like
also smart.
Tune in, this scene's good or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
stay here. Alert.
Pay attention.
We're so smart.
I need that. I never know when to pay attention in a movie. I'm so bad at it. I'm like, my finger is on the rewind button when I watch a movie.
But I think that's fine. Rewind if you need to rewind. Some people, okay, here's the scenario I hate the most in my life. When I'm trying to watch like my show and someone comes to join me to watch my show.
Yeah.
And then I get up during some part to go like change the laundry over or like pee and I don't stop it. I come back and I rewind. And then they've been sitting there the whole time. And then they're like, why did you walk away why didn't you pause it?
Okay.
I didn't want to pause it.
Yeah.
That's it. That makes me so mad.
Okay.
You chose to watch it and I don't want to pause it. I've encountered this oppression so much in my life. So
wow, good to know.
Yeah, I hate that. Don't ever say that to me. But what happens at the end? Oh, okay, so then the leaves scatter. By leaves I mean pages.
Okay.
Wizard book.
Marx's wisdom.
Yes.
Lost to the wind.
Lost to the wind. And then Anna Faris gets put in the back of a cop car.
Yeah.
Jim from The Office is like, my dad knows a lawyer. We can try to work something out.
He loves her.
And then she kind of like realizes he loves her and actually is like what she needs, I think. But that's all in gazes. And then she pulls away in the cop car, and then we zoom in on Jim's like somber face accepting that this is like his wife basically, and it puts "I'm gonna keep on loving you."
Are you a Speedwagon?
And I was like, whoa. About this, I was like, okay. And then it goes to the where are they now, and it's revealed that she's doing 1,500 hours of parole in lieu of a 5-year sentence, and she's on the side of the highway.
A lot of hours.
Yeah.
Wait, so she got punished.
I
don't like that.
I didn't either. I was like, that's why I have to quit weed after this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, that
today.
was about. I felt like that was made just for you. It was like, look, here's a blonde woman who's an unlikable stoner and gets punished for it.
That was the war on drugs towards me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, look, you could have bagged this hottie, but you couldn't because you're a stoner.
Yeah. Yeah. So instead, you have to date this weird guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm nodding somberly. So that's the reality of the situation. That's what happens.
That was propaganda for you. So I'm sorry you had to witness that.
It's okay. That's why I felt like I should be the one to watch that one. I was like, this seems like propaganda geared towards me. Let's check that out. And it was by an Asian guy. So in the cycle of like,
wow,
stoner culture should be racist to white people, it worked on me. I was like, this woman. Me. This white clown. That's what I felt. Dang. So yeah, that was Smiley Face.
Wow.
And she did look like a smiley face throughout it. I'll say that.
That's what that was about. Is that she's
looking like.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's being high for you.
And that is my Instagram profile pic right now. So
it's for you.
I know. I was like, that's how I felt when I was watching it.
Face. Wow.
I was like, damn.
Thank God you're quitting weed.
I know. Now that can never happen to me. Now scenarios such as that can never befall me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm gonna be a prep or a dork.
A successful person.
Yeah. Well,
Kyle Penn was trying to teach us we could be a stoner and
a successful person.
Yeah.
See, I watched Smiley Face first and was like, I can never touch this again.
Yeah.
And then I watched Harold and Kumar and I was like, it's okay.
Wow. And then you watched Lil Wayne's video and you're like,
I'm actually the most sober person who's ever lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Lil Wayne is someone who also is demonstrating that you can be successful and literally full on have a problem. So.
That's true. But
what's the thing people say? Different strokes
for different folks. That's what they say about hand jobs. Yeah.
That delivery was crazy. You sounded like a button from a 90s radio thing that says, that's what they say about hand jobs. Yeah.
Yes, that's what happens when I'm high. I turn into a 90s radio DJ control panel.
That's a W. I think that's a W representation and would work well in a film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing a knob with my hand. That was an insane knob. But maybe that's what the movie's about. That's what the movie's about. So that's all I got.
Great.
For today, 420 Easter. I already gave my prediction.
Which is that?
I forgot now, but it's buried earlier in the app. Go get it.
Congrats.
Oh, Jurassic Park Real.
Yeah.
Okay, you go.
I think in the spirit of Easter, Jesus Christ, he's coming back. He's gonna come back.
People are saying that.
Watch out, y'all.
I don't remember the lore. Is like if he comes back again. I thought the Antichrist was supposed to come back. Actually,
I feel like the Antichrist. We already did that.
Yo.
We already did that part.
Yeah.
So now Jesus
no, that
is
makes
coming.
sense.
Yeah.
What if it's just a cycle on and on forever, and that's the real world? That's really how the world is.
Well, glad we figured that one out. Take that, religion.
It's Easter 420, y'all. Bye.
Stay high.